Good Monday evening, everybody. Welcome back into the live show. It's September 25th, 2023, and we are live here on the Let's Talk Live podcast. This is episode 107, and we are going to get into one of the strangest cases that I have been diving into the last 24 hours. This case of Karen Reed, been accused of manslaughter in the death of John O'Keefe, was a Boston police officer, and there is a lot of controversy surrounding this case. There are people that are alleging possible police cover-up. It's wild. I'm telling you. I think Dr. Bob, when I was looking in the chat earlier, said this is going to be the next it case. And I have no idea why no one has been talking about this. I don't know why I haven't been talking about it. And it's crazy. And we're going to talk about, what the mainstream media has been saying about it. You're going to hear the name Turtle Boy tonight. That this is a local, he's a local shock journalist here in Massachusetts. He does journalism, does deep dives into cases and stories and exposes corruption and, will just call people out for the kind of the piece of crap that they could be. But he's going hard on this story right now, is in total support of Karen Reed. And again, I think he makes a lot of valid points. He's digging really hard. There's a lot of evidence that's pointing in a certain direction, but I will let you, the audience, decide to what you think. So what I have lined out for this tonight is I'm going to pull up an article here. We get a review on the case. Then we're going to look at a video from Court TV, which will kind of outline the case a little bit more. And then I have a video off the Turtle Boy YouTube page where he's done his investigating. And I'd like to just present that to all of you. And then maybe you will all make the decision what you think. But I'm going to tell you, this case here is very close to my house. It's probably only about 20 to 25 minutes from where I live. And I do plan on going out and checking out the area in and around the home. I know Turtle Boy has been out there a lot, doing a lot of investigating and dropping a lot of videos in and around that home on his YouTube page. So definitely something that I'm going to be doing over the next week. Get out there, do some filming, do some videos as I do a deeper dive into this case. And it's very interesting. It is very, very, very interesting. So let's do this. Let me just see who's in here really quick. I have Bella in here. Thank you for being here. Music City Mom, Crime Spies is here. Lily Black is here. Candy is here. Rogue is in that chat. Victorine is back. Hello, Victorine. How are you? Dr. Bob saying this case is the next big thing written all over it. I completely agree. Mind Your Business is here. Mary's in the house. Cindy's in the house. Sam is here. We got Minx in the chat. Nina is here. Danielle in the house. Kelly is over here. Ron, my brother from another mother, is in the house. Chica's here. Good to see you. And Lee and Susan's here. Let's see. That may be it from yes, I am from Massachusetts. Massachusetts. Yeah, he does some really good stuff. He's kind of a local shock journalist here in the area. He's been around for quite a long time. And I honestly think that if he wasn't shut down on Facebook, he'd be just as big, if not as big as Barstool Sports. He does that type of content, kind of that Barstool Sports. Yeah, it's I listen, I back the blue, but this has so many legs to it, and we're gonna get into it tonight. It's a wild case. Hope is over here. Brenda's in the house. Dawn Marie is here. Hello, Dawn. How are you? Renee is in the house. That's nice. The chat is filling in. It's Mimi. Mimi's here. Good to see you. Turtle Boy rocks this case. Absolutely. And I'm planning on reaching out to him and get him on the show. I don't think he would have a problem, but I'd love him to come on and just give us a perspective of his investigating and seeing what he's finding. You will find out tonight, Chica. You will learn a lot about this case. Okay, so let's get into this. I'm going to pull up this article here. As we like to do is just get some review and let everybody know what's going on in this specific case. But I'll let you know, Turtle Boy is a huge backer of Karen Reed right now. There's a lot of local support for her. I definitely want to I have some time off coming up in between jobs. So I want to get some boots on the ground, get out to that scene, take a look at it, and really do some investigating. Maybe someone will talk to me out there, talk to me about this. So let's pull up this case here. So from Boston.com, this was back about a couple of months ago, and it's from May 3rd, but it does outline the case pretty well. It says the makings of a made-for-TV movie. Almost legal experts weigh in on the direction of the Karen Reed case. From an alleged conspiracy to battles over evidence, Reed's case has captured local attention, is now catching national attention, and I'm sure that this story is going to catch world attention pretty soon. So let's see. So Karen Reed, a Mansfield woman, Mansfield, Massachusetts, charged with murdering her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, appeared in Norfolk County Superior Court for a pretrial hearing on May 3rd, 2023. She actually was just back in court not too long ago for another motion, and we will play those motions here. I'm telling you, folks, I am going to be deep diving into this case. You're not going to want to miss it. It has so many legs and so many interesting, intricate pieces to it. We're going to get into this case, and I'm really, this is going to be, I think, my next Idaho case. I really want to deep dive into this because it's local. I mean, it's literally 20 minutes from where I live. All right, so here we go. Legal experts say it's too early to tell how evidence will pan out for the Karen Reed, the Mansfield woman charged in the 2002 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. But the defense team and prosecutors already sparring up in court over eyebrow-raising phone data and alleged conspiracy. At least one thing seems clear. Reed's case is one to watch. This is nuts. The 42-year-old is accused of striking O'Keefe with her car outside a fellow Boston police officer's home in Canton on early January 2022, January 29th. She has been charged with second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter while driving under the influence and leaving the scene of a collision causing injury or death. So those are the formal charges against Karen Reed. Reed reportedly told authorities she had no idea she might have hit O'Keefe with her car while dropping him off at an after party following a night of drinking. She and two others found O'Keefe unresponsive in the snow later that morning, and Reed told officers she returned to the scene after discovering a broken taillight on her SUV and fearing that for O'Keefe's safety. Quote, it's a peculiar case to begin with, observed Daniel Medweed, a criminal professor at Northeast University. The idea that you could hit somebody significantly basically cause them to be in such distress that it couldn't make it into the house would seem to involve a pretty hard strike. And even if you were a little inebriated, you might be aware of it. So my first reaction was, that's somewhat odd, right? It's crazy to see the injuries that this guy received And they were saying that she backed up at like 25 miles an hour and hit him at like 25 miles an hour. But the injuries that he has received does not look consistent at all. I mean, his face looks like it had been beat. He has scratches and almost like claw marks all over his arms. It doesn't make sense. It's very, very weird. And again, I'm not making any accusations, but it looks really, really, really weird. And here on LTL, we are a huge backer of the blue. We back the blue, but and I don't like to say these things, but it looks strange. I'm telling you, once we get into this and you see it, you're gonna be like, what the hell, man? It's crazy. In a case without eyewitnesses to testify, they actually saw Reed. If they actually saw Reed strike O'Keefe, the evidence is pretty circumstantial, Medway told Boston.com. However, prosecutors have pointed to other evidence they believe will implicate Reed. For example, investigators allegedly found pieces of red plastic matching Reed's taillight in the snow where O'Keefe's body had been. District Attorney Adam C. Lally also noted in Norfolk Superior Court earlier this month that O'Keefe had been seen leaving a bar that night holding a cocktail glass, and a piece of the cocktail glass were later found embedded in Reed's bumper. This is so weird. After discovering O'Keefe's body, Reed allegedly told a paramedic at the scene, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Yet, while notable, those statements may not necessarily constitute strong evidence against Reed, according to Medway. It's consistent, maybe with someone who's remembering what they did, he said. It could also be consistent with someone who is grieving about the injury to her boyfriend and sort of speculating, could I have been involved? The defense team and prosecutors have gone head-to-head over pieces of evidence, reaching vastly different conclusions about the cause of O'Keefe's injuries and whether his cell phone data indicates he entered the home in Canton that night. It's fascinating, and this is where I talk about cast is very important now in all of these cases. Cast is going to be like the new thing in all these cases. I'm telling you, they can, if you have a phone on you, they can tell anywhere where you are now, where you've been, where you're going, what devices your phone has pinged off of. I'm telling you, it's very, very important now. Cast is going to be like the wave of the future. It's fascinating that both sides point to the same evidence and with a completely different interpretation. Boston-based criminal defense attorney Peter Eklund told Boston.com. And so it's going to be fascinating to see how the evidence plays out. The fishing expedition or legal strategy. Perhaps one of the biggest points of contention is the defense team claimed that Reed was framed. During a hearing earlier this month, Reed's lawyer suggested O'Keefe had been severely beaten, attacked by the homeowner's dog, and left outside. They alleged a possible conspiracy amongst the homeowners, and after party guests, even referring to Massachusetts State Police trooper who investigated the death as conflicted. This case is wild. Among their evidence, the defense pointed to a cell phone data indicating, and here you go, this has been like the biggest thing that's come up in this case. All right. Now, really pay attention to this and make sure you get this. I mean, they're making T-shirts of this around here in support of Karen Reed. Among the evidence, the defense pointed to phone data that indicated that the homeowner's sister-in-law searched, quote, how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m., hours before Reed found O'Keefe's body. Why was that Googled? Why was that Googled? It doesn't make sense. That was almost a bombshell looking, very strong piece of evidence, Eklund said. And then the prosecution gives reasons why they believe that timestamp was unreliable. Specifically, Lally, and you're going to see the injuries here. It's very odd. It's very, very odd. Specifically, Lally, the Norfolk ADA, argued in court documents that Reed had directed the woman to Google how long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia or something to that effect. after finding the body, and the defense team had misinterpreted the data, resulting in faulty timestamp. Here are some of those injuries. Now, I know it's graphic. You may not want to look at it, but it's really odd. Those to me look like a animal attack, right? Like dog scratches. And there is a dog known to be in that house, the house he supposedly went into. So right here, it says below, it says a member of Karen Reed's defense team holds up a photograph showing wounds to John O'Keefe's right arm during the pretrial hearing on May 3rd, 2023. Reed's lawyer argued that the injuries are due to a dog attack rather than resulting from an impact of a car. Still, Reed's lawyers doubled down on their claims in court, pushing back on Lally's accusation of fishing expedition. I think they've established this, and it's not just fishing, defense attorney Alan Jackson said during the May 3rd hearing. We've got a fish on the hook. We just need the court to help us reel it in. Excuse me, I'm just going to get a sip of water. Meanwhile, the case has also sparked fervent speculation at a local level, particularly among readers of the blog Turtle Boy, which has promoted theories suggesting Reed was framed. At first blush, it doesn't sound pretty far-fetched, right? Because it would make a lot of coordination between 4 or 5 different people, Midweed said, of the lawyer's theory. But basically, the defense can only make arguments in good faith that would suggest reasonable doubt. And there's enough here that you could imagine a defense lawyer making an argument in good faith. And so the question then really becomes whether the jury believes it. He also noted that Reed was arrested just a few days after O'Keefe's death. Maybe what happened was it just seemed like a sort of open and shut case, a pretty plausible case. Snowstorm, drinking, broken taillight, girlfriend who seemed a little distraught and wonders if she did it. That basically the police and the prosecution thought that it was all tied up. And then it took a little while for them to begin to investigate the phone information, and there's other information Midweed speculated, though the acknowledgement from the prosecutors have offered their own interpretations of the evidence. According to Eklund, Reed's case serves as something as a cautionary tale about jumping to conclusions. At the onset of this case, it looked like somewhat a strong case against Miss Reed, and then there were more and more evidence that come to light, and there are more dramatic questions here about the evidence, he said. So it's not really clear who possibly could be guilty at this point. Eklund added, this case really has the makings of a made-for-TV movie. So what comes next? Both he and Midweed predict that the case could hinge on expert testimony, particularly concerning cell phone data and O'Keefe's injuries. Again, cast information. Very, very important. Listen, we got 70 people in the room. You all can just take a minute, smash that like button. It's free to do that. Our goal here tonight is to get to 100 likes. We want to get to 100 likes here in the room. This is an extremely important case. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to want to come back and watch these shows. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm going to do an extremely huge deep dive into this case. And I can't wait. And hopefully I can talk Turtle Boy into coming on the show and just telling us like what the hell is going on. So that's my goal, to get him on the show, hear what he's been investigating, and get maybe some clarity into Karen Reed's defense. There's a lot of local supporters here for her. I'm starting to look at a lot of things, and just things don't add up. It doesn't make sense. So smash that like button. Let's keep getting this out there in the algorithm. And I'm going to tell you, if you're watching this live or you're watching this on replay, this case will captivate you. I'm telling you, it's got a, and I hate to use this, if you like sexy crimes, then this is the one that you're going to want to watch. If you want drama, this is the one that you're going to want to watch and see. I know Idaho's kind of on pause right now, but this is going to be the one. All right, so I think ultimately that it might be the key to the case. Does the injuries believe that the defense experts more than it believes the prosecution expert, Midweed summarized? And it goes on to say, he emphasized that the burden is on the prosecution to prove Reed's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The goal of the defense lawyer is to not prove who did it. It's basically to create reasonable doubt about their client's culpability. And then it seems to be what the lawyers are doing, Medweed explains. Yeah, they're pointing the finger at the other officer and the officer's family and so on. But they don't actually have to prove that. They just have to prove that there's reasonable doubt, because the evidence about whether Karen Reed did it or not. It only takes one person on a jury. Remember that. Only takes one person on a jury. He said it's possible that the prosecution could be interested in offering Reed a plea deal, though his instincts say the case might go to trial. Looking ahead, Eklund suspects that the case will be a fascinating, interesting one to watch. Sometimes they can sort of tell the trajectory of the case and see the handwriting on the wall, and I can see which direction it's going, he said. In this one, things are way too up in the air, and it's too early at this point. So that's an article there back from May 3rd, 2023 from Boston.com. All right, we're going to go over to Court TV. About a month ago, they dropped a special there on their channel, and then I'm going to play that. So we'll get a deep dive into what kind of the mainstream media is saying about this case. And then obviously I'm going to pull up Turtle Boy has a video on this as well, about a 30-minute video. So we'll watch these and I'll leave it all up to you. What do you all think? You know, did Karen Reed do this, or is there possible implications of police corruption or a cover-up? All right, let's.
John O'Keefe were bar hopping on a snowy night in Massachusetts. At the end of the night, they were invited to a house party at the home of a fellow officer in Canton, Massachusetts. When Karen and John arrived, Karen did not exit the car. John did. From that point forward, there are two very different versions of what happened. Prosecutors say Karen was mad at John and purposely struck him with her car and left him on the ground to die in the snow. But Karen and her defense team say John went to the party. Something terrible happened inside the house, and his body was placed outside, where he was found dead the next morning. Karen has been charged with murder, but claims she is the victim of a big cover-up by police. Meanwhile, both inside and outside the courthouse, things have been getting very tense. A local blogger who goes by the name Turtle Boy organized a protest outside the courthouse to support Karen. Tonight, we speak live with Turtle Boy. Then we'll bring in the attorneys for Karen Reed as we investigate the death of John O'Keefe and the allegations of a police cover-up. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us. Now, Karen Reed, like every other criminal defendant, when they're charged, is presumed innocent. And it's no different in this case. But in many of the cases we cover on Court TV, right, the presumption of innocence applies, but and I think sometimes in the back of my mind, yeah, they're presumed innocent, but come on. We've from the evidence that's been released already, it doesn't look really good for that defendant. This case is a little different and potentially a lot different, depending upon how the evidence plays out, because there are two very different versions of what happened that night in Canton, Massachusetts. Now, we rarely hear from criminal defendants. They don't usually testify at trial, and they usually don't talk before the trial. But in this case, that's not the case. I mean, she has spoken. Karen Reed has spoken out. And even though we rarely hear from defendants, we've heard from this one. So that makes this case a little bit different, because the defense has an alternative story about what happened here. Many times the defense is, they can't prove their case, period, end of story. They don't have the evidence. And as we know in our system, the defense doesn't have to prove anything. They don't have to put one witness on the stand. They don't even have to.
Just wait for this one. If you haven't, I'm telling you, if you haven't seen or heard about this case, you're in for a wild ride. And I'm gonna be talking about this case for a while. I'm just looking up right now. I got about 70 people in the room. If you haven't already, please make sure to smash the like button. We want to get to 100 likes tonight. 100 likes is our goal.
to come up with an alternative theory as to what happened in the case. It's up to the prosecution to prove it beyond any and all reasonable doubt. But again, here, things are different. There's an alleged police cover-up here that John O'Keefe went inside that house, which was a party with fellow officers and family members, et cetera. And the allegation is that something happened in there. And that's all being covered up now. So
thanks, Carrie. Good to see you.
That is a bold move. Again, rarely do you see this play out, especially before a trial. But the defense has been very vocal about it. And
I'm telling you,
I mean, how would you react? And this
I'm telling you, if you want drama, if you want all that in a case, this is definitely the case you're going to want to look into, because there is a million questions in this case.
And I'm not presuming this case is one way or the other, but I always think about this. If I've been wrongfully accused of something, would I just sit back and wait for my moment in court? Or would I literally be screaming on the steps of the courthouse so everyone knew that I was innocent?
Now, how many times have I said that in the Idaho case? How many times have I said that in the Idaho case? If I was accused of a quadruple homicide and I know that I didn't do it, what would I be doing? What would you be doing? You'd be screaming at the top of your lungs. Screaming at the top of your lungs.
I think I would choose the latter. That's the way I would react. Now, someone could be guilty and react that way, but if I was innocent, knowing myself, despite what my attorneys may or may not be telling me, I think I'd be saying that, especially if I was accused of murdering someone that I cared about, someone that I loved. And that's the allegation in this case, although prosecutors are saying they're in the middle of this big fight and this breakup, et cetera. So here's the thing that has happened in this case, which again is another rare development, is that Karen Read has supporters.
Big time.
Who've shown up in large numbers in this
right,
usually
Mary?
Sleepy courthouse.
Right, Mary? Doesn't it look like a large, it looks like a dog. It looks like dog. I mean, come on, let's not get crazy here. I mean, it seems like a dog scratch. Something happened in that house. I believe something happened in that house. I really do. And I think that I'm starting to think that they're just looking at the wrong person. And I don't say that very often because look at, I back the blue. You know, we'll just pull that aside and say that, you know, let's just even say that it's not police officers that are involved. Just say it's other people. It's starting to really look, from what I'm seeing and investigating, it's starting to really look something happened in that house and not outside that house.
In Norfolk County in Dedham, Massachusetts. I've been to that courthouse. There's not a million courtrooms there. I think there's actually 2 in the building.
I'm all over this now,
and the one where this case is being held is the very historical Sacco and Vanzetti courtroom.
It's weird.
Not much.
That's what I mean. This is a weird case. It's weird. There's a lot of weird things, but I don't know. We're going to get down to it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Believe me, I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this case. All right, let's keep playing.
Happens in Dedham. I mean, it's not like there's a bunch of people, you know, showing up. Like if you're in the middle of a big city, you could always find people that might show up at a courtroom. Here, you have to be there for a specific reason.
Yeah,
and that's what happens. Large numbers, and they are clearly supporting Karen Read and think something is going on here that is terribly, terribly wrong. Again, at the outset, we want to investigate and get as much information as possible on the show as we continue to track this case as it moves towards a trial. I don't know. I haven't seen all the evidence. I haven't heard all the evidence. She's presumed innocent, but anyone that the defense is pointing the finger at is also presumed innocent, right? That's the way our system works. But tonight we're going to try to figure out what exactly is going on in that town. And
I'm going to do this. If you want to look at, and I'm going to tell you, they're very graphic, but if you want to look at the injuries to O'Keefe, I'm going to drop a link. Just scroll down about quarter way down the page and you'll be able to see it. And that, to me, that looks like a fight. That looks like he had been beat up. And those injuries on his arm look like dog injuries to me, like animal injuries. And it's weird that his hands were all bruised up, like almost like he was fighting back, trying to defend himself. How did this guy get 2 black eyes? You know, check out those photos. I know they're graphic, but I can't pull them up on the screen. But if you want to check them out, it's an odd case. I'm telling you, it's very, very odd.
For me, it begins with this outpouring of support for Karen Reed. Take a look at what is actually happening in Dedham, Massachusetts,
I'm all over
when
this
there are
now,
hearings
Law.
in this case. Take a look.
I'm all over this lady Law now. She was just, it was his friend, very casual. Oh yeah, Boston accent coming out. Oh yeah. A lot of supporters. Welcome in, everybody. Like button.
We're not putting up with that. We're right here
That's
today,
Turtle
Jimmy
Boy.
Durkin. We're not going to be quiet. We got it.
That's Turtle Boy right there. This is the brother in the family. Party goers. And those are big dudes. Those are big dudes. And they said that he was only hit at 25, I think 25 miles an hour. I think that's what Turtle Boy said when he investigated. And she backed up, like, I think he said it was like between like 50 and 35 feet backed up. And if you're there's a video, like he measured out and he's like, if you're legit just standing there and you see a car backing up 40 to 35 to 40 feet, you're gonna have plenty of time to get out of the way. You're not gonna just stand there. You're not just gonna stand there and be like, dum 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 dum. Oh, there's a car backing up. I mean, you're gonna jump out of the way. You're gonna get out of the way. It's just, I'm telling you, it's a weird case, and we're gonna get into it. We're definitely gonna get into this.
Imagine one day you wake up and your daughter is telling you, Dad, they're telling me I killed John. They're telling me I killed John and I'm scared. And then you go, you're involuntarily sectioned for 5 hours in Canton at the same hospital, I believe, that the boyfriend has just pronounced dead. You're sectioned there against your will.
I'll do some calling. Probably not tonight, but definitely in some other streams. I'm gonna be banging into this like all week. I'm telling you, and I'm gonna keep talking about this case because it's crazy. It's super important.
We're kissing your when you were helping out their niece and nephew for the last 2 years, helping raise them. Those people are suddenly turning on you and telling you that you killed your boyfriend who you love dearly. So we are here because the institutions that we are supposed to trust, the police and the district attorney's office, have completely failed us. They've completely failed not only Karen Reed and not only John O'Keefe, but they've failed all of us.
I mean, it's an unbelievable scene. I mean, it's reminiscent of the cheering that we heard at Johnny Depp's trial when I was there.
Yeah, it's wild.
And this is not a Hollywood star. This is an accused murderer getting a standing ovation as she enters the courtroom. What is going on out there? Well, the man who organized all of that is joining us tonight, our special guest, blogger, social media personality, owner of TB Daily News, and the man who organized the Karen Reed protest.
Now, if you want to hear a Boston accent, you're going to get one right now.
He's joining us tonight, apparently from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Aiden Carney, also known as Turtle Boy. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Vinny.
Let me start here. Aiden, Turtle Boy, what do you prefer?
You can call me Turtle Boy.
Okay, I'll go with Turtle Boy. No, not a problem. I understand. That's what everybody calls you. So let me start here.
Yeah, I'm used to it now.
Yeah. So the first question, how did you get involved in this case? Like, you were a sports guy, weren't you?
No. I mean, I started the blog about 10 years ago about sports, and nobody really cared about sports. So I started really getting into investigative stories, and I became an award-winning journalist along the way. And I've built a pretty large following in the New England area. And so when stories like this happen, I gravitate towards them. But this particular story is by far the biggest and longest story we've ever done. We're on part like 97 at this point. I don't know how many hours of YouTube streaming shows we've done about this, but it just seems like it never ends. And the following has obviously grown significantly as a result of this, because the story is so mesmerizing. It just, every day there's something new about the story that you couldn't be more shocked than the previous day. And then like yesterday, we find out that Michael Proctor, the detective in this, made up a fake company that does not exist and wrote in his report that they plowed Fairview Road, a company that does not exist, in order to avoid interviewing the actual plow driver who I interviewed yesterday. And as it turns out, he went by 34 Fairview Road and he reported seeing no body. He said that he would have seen a body if it was lying there. He's a 217-pound man, 10 feet from the curb. He said there was no body on the ground. And the lead investigator for the Massachusetts State Police, who is good friends with the people who are believed to be the perpetrators of this horrible, horrific crime, has known these people his entire life. He lives in Canton, and he never interviewed the only eyewitness who can definitively say that there was no body on the ground on 34 Fairview Road.
Thank you, East Coast.
And again, as I said off the top,
it's funny, we started out with 70 people in here, and I don't know why people are leaving this. I'm telling you, you're going to want to pay attention to this case. If you love controversy and possible cover up, I mean, there's so much. If you love drama, there's so much drama in this case. I urge everybody to pay attention to this case. I'm telling you, you're going to go back and watch this on replay and go, why was I not in there for the live chat? I'm telling you, it has all the elements of a like the article said, a made-for-TV movie. And I'm gonna pound this case like hard. I'm gonna investigate this hard, and I want to get Turtle Boy over here, so I'm gonna work on that as well too. All right, we'll keep playing through here. This is so interesting.
Karen Reed presumed innocent. Everyone that the defense is accusing is presumed innocent as well. But we know this way this is playing out. And the defense is going to make these same accusations that you're making, that obviously we have no idea what the truth is. And hopefully everything comes out inside the courtroom.
And listen, I want to make sure too, like trying not to sensationalize this case. We have to keep in mind a Boston police officer lost his life. Okay. He served my community. He served my state. It's tragic that he's dead, but we need to get to the bottom of the line of what happened. Was this Karen Reed, or was it people in that Canton home that night? And I'm telling you, there's a lot of weird things about this case that just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And the reporting in the digging by Turtle Boy has been amazing.
Jury tells us eventually. So you have no personal connection to Karen Reed?
No, I didn't know who she was before this. I mean, I briefly saw it in the news when it happened last year and didn't pursue it. I thought it was a horrible tragedy when it happened, like a horrible accident. I think a lot of people assume that. And then what really caught my attention was a court filing in April about the Google search. Like that was what caught my attention. And I looked into it and I read Alan Jackson's 94-page affidavit accompanied by Richard Forensic.
Well, you will know this case, Cindy, trust me.
Exact title is Richard Green. He's basically a data nerd. He looks through your phone, finds things you deleted. I read it all, and every page I read further, my jaw just dropped. And I said, this can't be happening. How is this real? And I assumed like they had a woman Googling at 2:27 in the morning who was inside that house, how long to die.
Here you go. This is one of the most damning pieces of evidence right here in this case. or damning things that have come up. Okay. So listen and pay attention to this. Someone in that house at 2:27 a.m. Googled, how long does it take to someone to die in the snow or die in the cold? And as we know, that night there was a severe blizzard going on. So really pay attention to this. It's very interesting.
He's basically a data nerd. He looks through your phone, finds things you deleted. I read it all, and every page I read further, my jaw just dropped. And I said, this can't be.
And if I had to be another person to stand up, if I think after really going through this and looking at the files and looking at the case, if I really feel that Karen Reed didn't do this and I have to be a voice that stands up and helps, I will. I'm telling you, I'm starting to lean this way. I'm starting to lean that way. I really am, from what I'm hearing and seeing.
This can't be happening. How is this real? And I assumed, like, they have a woman Googling at 2:27 in the morning who was inside that house, how long to die in cold, claiming that John O'Keefe never came in that house. So why would you Google that if you thought John O'Keefe was home in his bed, right? So when I saw that, I'm like, well, this is game over. Obviously, they have to drop the charges. This isn't, you trust the institutions, right? Like the district attorney's office can't be unethical and corrupt. They know this is beyond
let me ask you
doubt.
this, like, because, you know, you're coming out and protesting, right? And you're organizing all these folks coming down there, making a lot of noise locally, challenging people, getting in their faces, et cetera, coming in and out of the courtroom. Have you always been skeptical of police? Is that where sort of you come from? You question the police as sort of a social activist?
No, I mean, if you look back on, you know, older stories I've written, I'm a right-wing guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm a law and order guy.
Yep.
I'm a back the blue guy historically. During the BLM riots in 2020, we were very pro-police during that whole thing and didn't think that all police were like Derek Chauvin and just wanted to, you know, and so to have this happen, it feels like a betrayal of the trust that you put in these institutions. To have the
What a bunch of people that came into the chat. Do me a favor, please. Just hit that like button. We're trying to get to our goal of 100 likes this evening. I really would appreciate it if you haven't done that already. What we're doing tonight was we're diving a deep dive into the Karen Reed. I basically dubbed her the questionable Snowbank killer, and it's for the case of John O'Keefe. Is this a straight out, flat out murder from Karen Reed or a possible cover up? Let's keep playing through here.
Cowardly, and that's what they are, the cowards of Canton, the cowardly Canton police, who first got to that scene at 6 a.m. and did not find a single piece of taillight or a shoe. And then 12 hours later, when the state police took over, boom, they found taillight everywhere and a gigantic shoe, which somehow the Canton police missed. Now, if I'm the Canton police chief, I say...
So this video here is you're going to see Karen Reed backing up. And she said she made contact with this car. And you can actually see the car if you watch the video. She does make contact with it. And that's what's supposed to account for the broken light.
Stand by my men and I say, look, my guys are competent. They would have seen that. Those were not there. But the cowards of Canton remain silent. And not a single officer in that entire department has any fortitude up and say, no. We need to put a stop to this. An innocent woman, you are trying to put her in a box for the rest of your life while her killers remain free in this town that we live in.
So are you from Canton? I know you're in Cape Cod tonight. Are you on vacation?
No, I'm on vacation. Yeah, it's the last night of vacation.
That's what I figured.
I'm from a little town called Holden, right next to Worcester, second biggest city in New England. So it's about an hour away. So I go to Canton a lot these days.
So let me ask you this. You've got a lot of followers. The people that showed up at that courthouse, those protesters, are they local folks from Canton or are they followers of yours who have gotten, you know, entrenched and committed to the story the way you have, who showed up from all over? Because I'm wondering, are we looking at potential jurors here?
Well, I don't know how many live in Norfolk County. There's a lot of counties and the county lines are kind of weirdly drawn in Massachusetts. But I doubt, I would probably say 5 to 10% of that crowd is a potential juror because they live in Norfolk County. Obviously, they would not be picked for the jury if they had jury duty that day based on their activism. But, you know, I mean, I would say like a very small percentage of that crowd is actually from Canton. I mean, these are people who are so outraged. I've never written a story like this that has gotten so much interest and outrage from people. Like, if I died tomorrow, this movement would go on. People would keep protesting. I'm kind of like the leader of the movement, but it's taken on a life of its own. Yesterday at the Canton Town Select Board, one of the alleged perpetrators is on the Board of Selectmen, and a lot of Canton folks just showed up and began demanding he resign. I didn't urge anyone to do that. This has taken on a life of its own because it is that outrageous. I am not a conspiracy theorist.
I'm going to get into all that, Lady Law. This is just kind of getting the information out there for tonight. I'm gonna research all of this and get all the videos and the articles that have been written. I'm gonna go out to where this happened in Canton, get some video myself of the area. But this is just scratching the surface tonight. That's what we're doing. And then we're going to get call-ins. I'm telling you, I'm going to make this a big thing and really dive into this case because it needs a lot of light drawn on it. There's so much about this case that just doesn't seem right.
Let me ask you this. Now, there were cheers for Karen Reed.
If you think Idaho is crazy, this is the case you're going to want to hang on right now. I'm telling you, this is the case you're going to want to hang on right now. This will give you all of that same Idaho feeling if you're looking for all those things, because this is a wild, wild case.
Reed on the way into the courtroom, but there were boos for other folks who were walking in. Who was that, and why was the crowd booing people who were walking in? I mean, because was it the prosecution?
No,
was it an officer? Who was it?
That's Carl Dougal. He's a local moron. He's a Boston detective. He is the only member of the Boston Police Department that believes Karen Reed did this. Normally, when a cop gets killed, go to court.
So again, I mean, you called him a name. I just got to be careful with that.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. I get it. That's the way your show usually goes. Just tone it down just a little bit tonight in terms of the name calling. Because I don't know him. He could be a bright guy, could be the best guy in the world. I don't know. You have a problem with him. But he's from the Boston PD is what you're saying?
He's a Boston.
All right, I'm going to explain this really quick in layman's terms. All right. Karen Reed and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, on January 29th, 2022, go to a couple bars out in the Boston area. He goes back to get dropped off in the morning at an after party in Canton, Massachusetts. It's like a half an hour from Boston, okay? She says she drops him at the party. He walks in. 6 hours later, 12 hours later, 10 hours later, he's found dead in a snowbank, okay? They say at the house that he never came into the house, but his phone data and location say that he did go into the house. The people at the party say he never went in there, and they allege that she killed him by backing into him. But there was multiple people at that house. So it's either the people inside the house that are known Canton police officers and family members, or Karen Reed. When you look at the injuries and what they say that she did, she backed up supposedly 30, 40 feet at about 25 miles an hour and hit him and killed him and left him there in a snowbank and left. It doesn't seem consistent with the injuries. When you look at the injuries, it doesn't seem consistent. And I dropped a link earlier in the chat if you want to take a look. I'll drop it again. You can look on that link, scroll down about halfway down the page, and you'll be able to see the injuries. Now, to me, when you look at the arms, there's a known German Shepherd at that house. If you look at his arms are all scratched up. They look like dog scratch. Again, allegedly. This is all alleged. I don't know for fact, for sure. But it's weird. I'm telling you, this is a fishy case. Just like Lavender Girl was just saying. Very fishy. And, I'm telling you, this case needs a lot of eyes on it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. All right, let's keep playing through here. Yeah,
police
I mean,
detective.
it's not like the best summary. I'm just kind of riffing it off the top of my head. And, I'll know more about it when I get deeper into this case. What I read about it today, what I've been hearing about it. We're going to dive more into this. And I'm actually going to go out to the house, get some video out there, and just put the spot where they say that John O'Keefe was found. I know Turtle Boy was out there the other day. He did some measurements. He was kind of explaining the whole crime scene, what the prosecution said. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And there was like 5 big brawny police officers inside that house. And to tell me that someone that if you're standing there and you're backing up 30, 40 feet at 25 miles an hour, you're just going to stand there and let a car hit you. It doesn't make sense. You would have enough reaction time to get out of the way. 100% get out of the way. So yeah, like Angela's saying, that the injuries are not consistent with the mode of death. It seems they just pinned it on her as an easy target. Again, we're all allegedly talking about this. It's not for sure, but this is, I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Okay, so this took place in Canton, but the officers at the party and John O'Keefe and everyone else is really connected to Boston PD?
Yeah, if you want to meet me out there, we'll go there.
I mean, the only other person connected to Boston PD in that house is the homeowner, Brian Albert.
Okay.
He has a brother who's on the Canton police. He's got another brother on the board of selectmen. But, this took place in Canton. It just happened to be 2 Boston cops in a Boston suburb, like not Boston itself. And so Carl is a former coworker of his. And
that's his, wasn't that John O'Keefe's friend? Isn't that his friend?
Yeah, but a lot of John O'Keefe's friends are sitting on Karen Reed's side, including some of John's ex-girlfriends. Imagine that, like ex-girlfriends aren't supposed to like the latest girlfriend,
right?
But they're sitting there with Karen on her side.
Well, let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. I mean, his friend is dead, right? And he believes what he believes. Do you think he's at fault here for believing what he believes at this point?
Yes. So yeah, first of all, nobody is. I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nobody with no.
As far as I know, Karen Reed with the party goers is just would be a casual connection. John O'Keefe knew the party goers. Those were friends of his. There was family members, friends of his. He would be the stronger connection to those people than Karen, from what I understand. So it would be like a casual hangout friend. Go out, hang out with your boyfriend. He has his friends around. Now, a lot of those people are either friends or they were Canton police officers. And on, like Turtle Boy was saying, on the board of selectmen. So there's a lot of town officials involved in this too. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm going out there this week. I'm going to get some video of the area. And, I got to do a little bit more. I've just kind of surface layered investigating this. I'm just really getting into it, but I'm going to start reading over the next couple of days and really diving into this. And hopefully, like I said, and I don't think it's going to be too hard. I'm going to try to hook up with Turtle Boy, get him on the show and let him talk to all of us and see what he says as well too. Cause he's really been deep diving this for the last couple of months. And what he's discovering, I mean, on a daily basis is just insane. All right, let's get through this because we got about 20 minutes more of this, and then I'm going to play that Turtle Boy video. So I wanted to show you what the mainstream media is saying, and then we're going to play Turtle Boy's versions of the events.
Nobody who is that ignorant should be in charge of investigating any crimes at all. The fact that he's a Boston police detective makes me wonder how many times he has falsely arrested people for crimes that they did not commit. If he just
I get it,
bases this all on a hunch.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering what this scene is going to be like at the courthouse, right? For folks who are coming in. How about John O'Keefe's family?
I'm going to play the hearings. I'm going to play I'm going to play all the hearings. I'm going to dig all that stuff up. I'm going to dig the video up because there's video out there. Don't worry. I'm going to get all of this out. This is probably going to be covering here for the next couple of weeks, months. I'm going to always come back to this case. I mean, it's very, very important. It's here in the state of Massachusetts, literally 20 minutes up the road from where I live. So,
but you know why we do them, Vinny? Because anybody who is down there sitting on the prosecution side is knowingly supporting a sham. And every minute wasted on this sham prosecution of Karen Reed is a minute longer that the real people who killed John O'Keefe are out there free. The FBI is investigating this. There's going to be indictments. There will be no trial in this. That is one thing I can almost guarantee you. There will be no trial. There will be indictments probably within the next 3 to 6 months would be my ballpark estimate.
All right. Turtle Boy, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you coming on and hope perhaps you'll come back in the future as we continue to track this case, things develop. And the only thing I would say from my perspective, just having covered trials for years, is that for family members and stuff going through, and it's their loved one, their friend that's on that is the victim in the case, just a little, it's tough for them. It's really a difficult spot for them emotionally. Like it's even tough for me just to sometimes approach them.
Right. I just want to make it clear that we didn't boo his mother or anything like that. I actually said, no, we're not going to say anything to his mother. I wanted to be very clear with that.
Okay.
Even his brother, I said the same thing. We're not going to do that. But Carl, it's a long story.
I know it's a long.
Don't like.
And you can watch all of Turtle Boy's work on his blog, and you'll understand exactly what he's talking about tonight. But we appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Vinny.
Thanks so much. All right. I'm telling you, things are tense in the courtroom, out of the courtroom. Up next, we're going to speak with Karen Reed's attorneys. Plus, coming up next hour.
At the head here.
In the Bahamas, he faces a jury once again.
So there's a cover-up, and if so, who's leading the cover-up?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's what we're trying to figure out. That's exactly what we're trying to figure out. The Massachusetts, well, certainly the Massachusetts State Police is involved. There are people that were in that house that are involved. Brian Albert is involved. Jennifer McCabe is involved.
You know, here's the thing, and I said this the other day on one of my shows. You know, listen, I don't want to get into a whole thing that, you know, all the, you know, the corruption in, you know, police departments. I firmly believe I back the blue. I lean center right. I'm a First Amendment guy. I'm a Second Amendment guy. And, you know, I believe that 99.999% of our law enforcement is good. And, you know, there is people out there that are corrupt, that do bad things. Those cases, you know, always come to fruition. They get highlighted, they get brought out, and it just, you know, gets put out there. So I don't want to sit here and bash the Boston Police Department. You know, my family's, I have a lot of uncles that served for the fire department. I know, you know, local police in and around my area. I back the blue. We don't have any issues like that here in my town. Our police department around here is very cool. You know, look, does this shit happen? Of course it does. You know, are there bad cops out there? Yeah, but I tend to believe most of them, majority of them are good. So I don't want to go on a rage about, you know, the Boston Police Department or Canton Police Department being corrupt. But there's just a lot of things that don't add up here and just don't make sense. And again, my theme in all of this is to put forth a lot of evidence, let the audience decide what they think. You know, I know where I'm leaning in this case right now, or where I'm potentially going to lean. And, you know, we'll keep bringing this forward because I think it needs a lot of attention. It's a very important case. And, you know, if you want to fight for someone, you know, you definitely have it. You definitely have the elements for it here. You know, the thing that I do want to keep in mind too, is that it's very tragic that John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, lost his life in this. So we want to honor him. We want to honor his family. We don't want to smear his name in any way, and he deserves justice in every way possible. So let's keep playing through this here.
The rest of the folks that were in that house, there's some level of involvement by every one of them.
So you have a Boston police officer who's found dead on the lawn of a Boston police officer's home. Why was there no search warrant done of that home? Why was there no search for forensic evidence that he entered that home? That would have been done if it were you or me who owned that home.
The dog has been gotten rid of. Got rid of the evidence in the basement. Got rid of the house, the crime scene itself. Your Honor, I would submit to the court that evidence is literally being destroyed right under our nose.
It makes no sense to me. I think it's going to make no sense to a jury.
And I've been saying this from the first time we covered this story, that this defense is extremely aggressive, very competent, and it continues. It absolutely continues. Let me bring in our guest joining us in Boston, Massachusetts. Karen Reed's defense attorney, David Yanetti's with us. Also joining us, he's on the other coast in Los Angeles, California. High-profile attorney. You've seen him many times on Court TV, co-counsel for Karen Reed, Alan Jackson. Alan, great to see you again. Great to see you, David, tonight. Let's begin here with something that I'm going to actually say Turtle Boy told us in the prior segment about the snowplow driver. David, how significant is this? Have you spoken to the snowplow driver? And is this the key witness for the defense?
Well, I would say it's one of the key witnesses for the defense. This is no less than bombshell evidence, Vinny. By the prosecution's theory of the case, my client supposedly struck John O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him on the lawn of Bryan Albert's property. That would have been at 12:30 a.m. So when the snowplow driver went by to make a pass at 2:30 a.m., when he's checking the sides of the roads to make sure there's nobody there, not even an animal there that he would potentially hit, and he confirms that no body was on that lawn, in our view, this is ball game over.
All right, let me ask you about the other big thing, again, that Turtle Boy mentioned, that was that really struck him and struck all of us here at Court TV, was this Google search. Now, is this going to be
damning.
A battle inside the courtroom as to when this search was done about
Kelly,
a
I'm
body
telling you,
dying in?
I'm starting to really think that myself. I'm starting to really think that. And if I have to fight for Karen, I'll do that on this. I'll do that on this channel. I will give this case a platform to do that. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And we're going to hear about this Google search. And I'm telling you, wait till you hear about this.
In the cold. Is the prosecution saying this is after the body is discovered, and you guys are saying before? Is this going to be a battle of the experts? What's the status of all this, Alan?
Absolutely.
Because to me, this is crucial, right?
It is crucial, but to have a battle, you have to have two sides. There are no two sides to this. This doesn't come from us. This comes from Apple. The time of the search comes from Apple core data. In other words, it's not something that can be manipulated. It's not something that needs to be interpreted. It's something that just exists in the world as we know it. The Apple Cocoa core data indicates, or the core time indicates exactly what time that Google search occurred. That time was at 2:27 and 40 seconds in the morning on January 29th. That's 3.5 hours before John O'Keefe's body was found. Why is Jennifer McCabe, one of the parties that was inside the house that night, the sister-in-law of Bryan Albert, why was she Google searching? How long does it take for a human body to die in the cold? That's a question that we have posed to the prosecution over and over and over. And the Commonwealth doesn't have an answer for it. So they simply say, oh, well, we think maybe they got the time wrong. Except we didn't come up with the time. And we're using data from Celebrite, which is the exact same program that the prosecution relies on. Massachusetts prosecutors across the state and prosecutors across the country have relied on for not just years, for decades, to establish guilt and in some cases to establish that the defense uses to establish.
This is wild. This is wild. This is wild.
Innocence. It's unfathomable that the prosecution would take the position, well, that timestamp is not right. We know it's right, and that also, to echo what David said, that is another aspect of this case that establishes this game is over. We know what happened inside the house. We just don't know who struck the fatal blow. And the prosecution, It doesn't seem to want to get to the bottom of it. We're trying to.
All right, let's get to the shattered tail light. As Alan was speaking, David, we were watching video, and that's Karen Reed's car, right? And what's the significance of this video? And is this where the tail light was actually shattered from your perspective, not during the murder of John O'Keefe?
Now,
Yes.
I've watched the video, and the car does move. She does hit the car. That car moves. And I'm going to try to back it up so you can see. It's hard to see if you're not really in front of the screen, but we're going to play that video. I'm going to find it, and we'll go over it. But the car does move. The car does move.
And is this where the tail light was actually shattered from your perspective, not during the murder of John O'Keefe?
Right there. Boom.
Yes, there's no doubt that's when the taillight was shattered. And by the way, that's at 5 in the morning, 4.5 hours after it was supposedly shattered the night before. The taillight was intact when she left Brian Albert's house. She came home, and this was Karen leaving to begin the frantic search for John O'Keefe. Now, I don't know that you can see it from the video that you have there, but there is no doubt that when that SUV comes into contact with what is John O'Keefe's vehicle parked in the driveway, you can see that rear tire move forward. Yeah. It rotates, and you also see the light shatter from the taillight being broken. So, their theory is that this happened, 4.5 hours earlier. We can prove it happened 4.5 hours later.
Okay. How about this, Alan Jackson? Is there going to be a paramedic coming inside that courtroom and saying that they heard Karen Reed, your client, say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
I don't know who's going to come into court and say what. I mean, it's very easy for the prosecution to stand up and make all these sort of grandiose claims, these fanciful claims about what they think the evidence is going to show. I can tell you this, there's going to be no reasonable evidence that she ever confessed to hitting John O'Keefe, because she didn't. Could she have questioned, oh my God, could I have hit him? That's a reasonable thing for a person in that circumstance to say. It's a reasonable thing for a person in that circumstance to wonder. She's sitting there. The last time she saw John O'Keefe alive, he was stepping out of her car, walking up a driveway, walking into a doorway in a house that she wasn't familiar with. And several hours later, she sees his body outside in the cold, dying, right? Taking his last breath. And he's trying to.
That's the house there. That's the house out in Canton. And I'm going to go out there at some point and get some video of the area so you all can see it.
She's trying to jump on him, make sure that he gets some warmth in his body. She's trying to give him CPR. Keep in mind, she was absolutely, utterly frantic at that point. Could she have said, could I have hit him? That is a reasonable thing for her to have said. It's a reasonable thing for someone to have overheard. But keep in mind, I don't know what the paramedic's ultimately going to say. Everything that comes from that paramedic is coming through someone that's involved in John O'Keefe's murder. In other words, Jennifer McCabe, others inside the house, they have a connection. They have a relationship with that very same firefighter or that paramedic. That's why this is all very suspect. If the only thing that the Commonwealth has to rely on is some supposed statement, oh my gosh, could I have hit him? That's not enough to base a prosecution on. That's desperation. When every single other piece of physical and circumstantial and direct evidence points the exact opposite direction.
If you all just come into the room, please do me a favor, smash that like button. We're trying to get to 100 likes tonight. We got 76 right now. If you're new, you just popped in, smash that like button. We'll get us up to our goal of 100 likes tonight. I really would appreciate it. All right, let's keep moving on here.
Exact opposite direction to the Alberts, to the McCabes, to the people that were inside that house.
David, let me ask you this. We covered the Alec Murdaugh trial, and there was testimony about the movement of cell phones, and it was very specific. Like, it wasn't like it's generally in that area. They were able to track the movement of the cell phone. The prosecution painted a picture of Alec Murdaugh running around the house, pacing around the house, very specific location. What does the cell phone of John O'Keefe tell us in this case? Because to me, if it's all these hours or an hour that he's alive, is he moving in the house? Can you get that type of a location information? Are there searches done? Are there calls, text messages? Is he looking things up? Is anything like that happening on his cell phone, which I believe was found underneath his body?
Correct. And that in itself is curious that it was underneath his body and not in a pocket. But the answer to your question is two-part. Number one, Alan and I have been fighting tooth and nail to get all of the cell phone data that we can. And guess who has fought us back to prevent us from getting that information? It's been the prosecution. They have fought us when we have tried to get the cell phone data of everybody in that.
I don't know, everybody. This is smelling really fishy to me. It's smelling really fishy to me.
House, which they should want to get to the truth.
But John O'Keefe is the key, right? I mean, isn't the tech? I mean, we saw it in the Murdoch trial. This technology can be extremely precise in the location of these cell phones and the movements.
Yeah, he's a high-powered lawyer.
Right. So that's the second answer, or the second part of my answer. The Apple health data that Alan referenced earlier shows that he did walk, I think, approximately 80 steps and went up and down approximately 3 flights of stairs. You don't do that by getting out of a vehicle and being struck by the vehicle. And I think Alan had said at one point, what did he do? Did he do laps around the car and start jumping up and down and then got hit? It's fanciful. It's ridiculous. We know he went in that house. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there was a witness that saw Karen alone in the vehicle with her hands 10 and 2 on the wheel, and nobody else was around her. This prosecution is a walking zombie. It's dead. The DA's office just doesn't know it yet, or they refuse to acknowledge it.
And Vinny, it's important to understand, if I could just dovetail onto David's point.
We have about 30 seconds. That's all. I'm sorry.
I can do it in 15. The prosecution's entire theory is John O'Keefe stepped out of the passenger side of the vehicle. He was hit and he was disabled. Done. There would be no movement from his cell phone. You're exactly right. The Apple Health data is extraordinarily precise. It shows him taking 88 steps. It also shows him going up and down 3 flights of stairs at the 3-story house, and then taking 30 steps out.
Can I challenge you though, John? I'll challenge you though. Could she be referring to I hit the car, meaning she hit the car? She backed up into his car. 3 hours later, oh my God, I hit him. I don't know, man. It just seems very, very fishy. I'm telling you, if you see the injuries, it doesn't look like a car at 25 miles an hour backed up into this guy and caused all those injuries. There's no flipping way. And I'm telling you, if you look at his arms, it looks like dog attack. It looks like a dog attack, and there's a known dog, German Shepherd, in that home. And I talked about it. I don't know if you got in here when you got in here, DJ. Listen, you know me. I back the blue all the way, 100%. But something doesn't seem right about this case. It seems very, very sketchy. And I'm going to keep diving into this one because I think it needs some teeth in this case.
After that, at 12:31 a.m., at or after 12:31 a.m., if he stepped out of the car and was hit, the Apple Health data would show absolutely nothing whatsoever. When the prosecution is asked by David and myself, explain that, they simply say, we have no explanation.
I mean, his cast data shows that he went in the house, and the people at the house are saying that he never went in there. His cast location is saying that he went into the house. And then someone at the party Googled at 2:27 a.m. 2:27 a.m. How long for a body to die in the cold? I mean, and now they're trying to cover that up and say that Google search never happened. It did happen. Apple has the Google search. It's odd, dude. It's really, really odd. And I get it. You back the blue, you were the blue, I back the blue. Shit happens, But something happened at that house, and it just doesn't. Super sus, dude. And we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. I think, majority of cops out there are very, very good, but there are a couple out there that are bad, and this might be one of those cases. I don't know. I'm just alleging it could be one of those cases. What we're going to do is get through this court TV video. Then we're going to play the Turtle Boy video. I think that's going to shine a lot more light on this case because he's been investigating it. He's a local personality here. If anybody doesn't know, local journalist, kind of shock journalist here in Massachusetts. And he's doing some great reporting on it. So let's keep playing this.
All right.
It can't be relied on. Every time they don't like an answer, they say it can't be relied on.
Why would the prosecution be hiding the cell phone data and not turning that over to the defense? Doesn't make any sense.
Jackson, David Unetti, I know you're super busy. We really appreciate your time tonight, giving us much more insight into this case. And hopefully we'll speak again.
It's an important case, Vinny. Thanks so much. For the time.
Absolutely. All right. Whew. Up next, folks, we're gonna get an independent opinion on all of this. We're gonna bring in one of Massachusetts' finest attorneys and legal minds, laid out some very compelling evidence. So I wanted to bring in like an independent mind to take a look at all this. And you're in Massachusetts, there's only one place you go. Let's bring in our guest. Joining us in Boston, Massachusetts, former child abuse prosecutor, law professor at New England Law, Wendy Murphy, back with us. Wendy, great to see you.
You too, Vinny.
All right, so what's happening there in Canton, Massachusetts, in Dedham, Massachusetts? What are your thoughts about this? Is it possible that there is some sort of a
Yeah, John, I'm gonna get the link for you. You can take a look at the injuries. I want you to take a look and see what you think. Give me a second here. I'm gonna pull those up. Let's see. I'm going to pull that up and drop the link in the chat so you can see them. Now they are graphic. I can't show them on the screen. They're too graphic for that. But John, if you click on this link, scroll down about 3/4 of the page. Now they're saying that those injuries happened. Those injuries supposedly happened, that she was backing up, I believe 40 to 50 feet at 25 miles an hour. If you were standing there and you had 40 to 50 feet in between you of a car that was backing up, tell me you wouldn't have enough time to get out of the way at 25 miles an hour. It doesn't make sense. Look at the injuries and tell me what you think. All right, let's keep playing this.
Police cover up here?
You know, that's the big question. And I know how the issue has been framed. Either there's a big cover up or she's guilty of murder. And I kind of come down in the middle. My feeling from the beginning of this case was that she probably did hit him. He banged his head on the driveway. She didn't plan to hit him. She didn't want to kill him. And that he was covered by the snow, which is why no one found him until the following day. And it was really the fact that police overcharged her with murder. I don't think any juror.
Do me a favor, if you're just in the chat and you just came in, please make sure to smash that like button. We're trying to get to our goal tonight of 100 likes here in the chat to push this out into the algorithm. This is a very, very important case. I think it's just as important as the Idaho case. And I'm going to be shedding a lot of light on this case and looking into it.
Will ever find her guilty of murder, period, because I don't think anybody will be able to prove that she wanted to kill him, but she's charged with murder. And I think when a defense attorney gets involved in a case where it appears their client has been overcharged, and likely overcharged because this was a cop, and the cops have a very nice relationship with the district attorney who gets to decide what the charges are. If there's an overcharge, and this is a serious overcharge, this is life behind bars, second-degree murder overcharge. If she in fact committed, at best, manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, because she was under the influence and she, I think, did accidentally kill him, then the question is, why is the defense characterizing this as a conspiracy by the police? And my sense of that, just tactically speaking, is that the defense wants to use their strategy, their theory of this was a murder by one of the other people at the house, and they're trying to cover it up and pin it on her. But the real the real theory, I think, here is that if they can even get the judge to buy into the idea that it might have been someone in the house, then they're going to get access to all the police files, all their employment files, all their disciplinary records. And that's going to give Karen Read leverage, the leverage she needs to pressure the prosecution to lower the charge to manslaughter, to give her some kind of not only lower charge, but ultimately a much lesser punishment. So that's really what I think is going on here. There was an overcharge, and in a sense, there's an over defense where we're hearing things about police conspiracies.
Couldn't be on more polar opposite sides here. So let me ask you this: what's if we do go to trial, right? And I always prepare for that moment here at Court TV. What do you think the temperature is in Norfolk County, in Dedham, Massachusetts, for jurors to think that their police, are capable of this?
Well, there's a lot of support for Karen Read here, and whether people think she's just overcharged or outright innocent and had nothing to do with it, there's a lot of support for Karen Read. And here's the problem. When the prosecution overcharges someone and they blame the police for why there's an overcharge, there's a real risk that the jury's going to come back and punish the prosecution for doing that. If the jury thinks this was an accident, they're going to be angry that she was charged with murder, and that could translate into an outright not guilty as a way of, bringing democracy to the case, punishing the government for overdoing it.
You want to see the
I can
injuries?
see that happening.
They're right there,
and there's no question all the potential jurors, which will have to come.
That John O'Keefe sustained, and that will tell you a lot. You can check out that 3/4 of the way down.
From that area of Massachusetts are watching this. They're watching all the support for Karen Read mount. And this is a country where the climate around support for police is unfortunately not good. I don't support that. I think we need good cops. And it's really, unfortunate that that is tainting this case to some extent. But I would say this, the defense has the upper hand, not because people think Karen Read is innocent, but because they think she's being unjustly prosecuted.
Kind of like Sacco and Vanzetti. Anyway, that's another story for another time. Wendy Murphy, great to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go to the Turtle Boy video. Let's get into the nitty gritty. All right, here we go. Listen, go over support Turtle Boy on YouTube. That's his channel here, Turtle Boy Live. This was from 2 months ago. I hope he doesn't mind me showing this on the channel, but we're going to try to do our best here. All right, let's play this.
I'm Aidan Carney of Turtle Boy Daily News. I've been investigating the death of John O'Keefe from Canton, Massachusetts. His girlfriend, Karen Read, is charged with his murder.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
That's the view it would have gotten.
But is there something more going on here? Is Karen Read the victim of a massive cover-up? During my investigation, I have uncovered a town full of corruption. Here's what I believe happened, and why I believe Karen.
Now again, and I want to make this very, 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 very clear. Okay, Turtle Boy is a backer of blue, Second Amendment guy, First Amendment guy, and he said, I normally don't really get involved in stuff like this, but when I started looking at the case, it seemed really weird. It seemed really weird. So we'll keep playing this.
Don't
you want to ask some questions? I know you do.
I do. I have. I think that you could outsmart Karen Read. Did you? How can you wear those buttons when you covered up his murder? Any comment on that? Why you Googled that 227?
Now that was a lady that did the Google search that night.
On the morning of January 29, 2022, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found dead outside of the Canton home of Boston Police Sergeant Bryan Albert on 34 Fairview Road. O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Read, was charged with manslaughter after reportedly backing over O'Keefe with her car after she got into a fight with him and dropped him off at Albert's house after a night of drinking. She was castigated widely as a cop-killing villain, set to face decades in prison. But as it would turn out, at least a dozen people were in the house when John John O'Keefe was being violently beaten to death before hatching an elaborate plot to frame Karen Reed for killing him. The cover-up was aided and abetted by members of the state police, the Canton Police Department, and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. This is the story of one woman alone, facing down some of the most powerful, well-protected people in the state who sought to destroy her life and exonerate herself. This is Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. Karen is an intelligent, successful accountant and college professor with not even a hint of a criminal record. She'd been dating John O'Keefe for several years and loved his niece and nephew, who he adopted after both of their parents, including his sister, passed away. She owned a house in Mansfield that was rented out, but lived with O'Keefe and his niece and nephew at his home on One Meadows Ave in Canton. O'Keefe was a well-liked veteran, 16 years on the force of the Boston Police Department. On February 2nd, Reed was charged with killing John O'Keefe, only with manslaughter, though, and she may have actually believed she was responsible. 4 months later, in June, the charges were upgraded to murder, despite no real evidence coming out that added to the story. State Trooper Michael Proctor wrote the criminal complaint for her arrest, noting his 10 years of experience on the State Police Detective Unit at the Norfolk County DA's office. The charging documents state that Canton officers Seraph and Mulaney were dispatched at 6:04 a.m. on January 29th to 34 Fairview Road, where they found 3 females, Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Kerry Roberts, next to the body of John O'Keefe. Karen Reed was performing CPR. Jennifer McCabe is pictured in this photo on the right, next to her sister Nicole Albert, who is the wife of well-connected Boston Police Sergeant Bryan Albert. Bryan is on the fugitive apprehension team. He is a trained MMA fighter, and he was featured on the cop show Boston's Fine.
Wow. 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 Do me a favor, just hit that like button if you're just coming in. We're trying to get to 100 likes tonight. If you're just new in, this is very weird. I'm telling you. And again, I'm like down the middle here, but I'm telling you, I'm starting to lean a certain way. And believe me, I back the blue all the way. I back the blue all the way. But I don't know. This just seems really weird. Smash that like button, please. I would appreciate it.
At 11:30 a.m. on January 29th, Trooper Proctor interviewed Jennifer McCabe and her husband, Matthew McCabe, along with Bryan Albert and Nicole Albert, comfortably at the home of Jennifer McCabe. They told him that they were out at the Waterfall Bar in Canton, where Jennifer McCabe met up with her friend, John O'Keefe, and his girlfriend, Karen Reed, who she did not know very well. The connection between them was that John O'Keefe's niece was good friends with Jennifer McCabe's daughter. Trooper Proctor was allegedly told by Jennifer that she saw Reed enter the bar carrying a vodka soda drink in a glass, which most bars would not allow, and indicated that perhaps she was drunk. The 3 grown adults in their 40s left shortly after midnight to go to an after party at Bryan Albert's house. According to Jennifer, she got there first. At 12:30, she says that she witnessed Karen Reed drive up in her black Lexus SUV. Since O'Keefe only knew McCabe at this house, he texted her to make sure that she was there. Jennifer claimed that John O'Keefe never entered the house, so she texted him hello at 12:45 before witnessing Karen drive away in her black SUV. We would later find out that most of that was a lie. She told Proctor that she assumed that he and Reed decided to go home. Jennifer received a phone call from a distraught Karen at 4:53 a.m. looking for O'Keefe. Jennifer, who for some reason was still up at 4:53 a.m. after a night of drinking, told Trooper Proctor that she offered to help Karen look for John O'Keefe along with O'Keefe's friend Kerry Roberts, who was not at the house that night. Karen was hysterical and could not drive in her condition, so Kerry drove both of them. Jennifer claims that during the ride, Karen said, quote, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" She also told the state police that Karen's SUV had a cracked taillight. The two of them then jumped in Kerry Roberts' car and they drove back to 34 Fairview Road. When they got there, Karen immediately noticed O'Keefe's body outside, but the other two did not. This was part of the reason that Karen was charged. Trooper Proctor believed that Karen knew exactly where the body would be because she knew that she ran him over and left him to die during the middle of the snowstorm. We later recreated this scene at 34 Fairview Road. John O'Keefe was 6'2" 217 pounds. His body was found exactly 12 feet from the curb. There are no obstructions blocking anyone from seeing him. It would have been physically impossible for Carrie Roberts and Jennifer McCabe not to have seen his body because they were sitting in the front. They were also specifically looking for a body at that time. And somehow they claim that they did not see him, but Karen Reed did, and this ended up implicating her. O'Keefe's arm had
Wow. You got injuries here too. These are the injuries to the arms. I don't know. That don't look like a car backed up.
6 bloodied lacerations, and his eyes were swollen shut and black and blue. His eyelid had a cut on it, and his clothes were covered in blood and vomit. A medical examiner said that he had 2 swollen black eyes, a cut on the left side of his nose, a 2-inch laceration in the back of his head, and multiple skull fractures. There is no possible way that he could have these kinds of injuries from being backed into by his girlfriend's car, especially since the snow and grass would have comforted his fall. Carrie Roberts told Trooper Proctor that Karen Reed was drunk and hysterical when she saw her at 5 a.m. and stated that she was so drunk she didn't even remember going there. Carrie repeated the same story as Jennifer, that Karen made statements suggesting that she may have accidentally hit him or that he had gotten hit by a plow. At 4:30 p.m., Trooper Proctor claimed that he went to the home of Karen Reed's parents in Dighton and claimed to have observed her SUV parked in the driveway with a shattered.
Wait a minute. So I got a question. So if this guy, obviously it's wintertime, he was wearing a jacket, right? How the hell would you get all those scratches on your arms from if you're wearing a jacket or you're wearing a sweatshirt? How would all those scratches happen? He wasn't out there with no. I want to know what he was wearing that night. I don't think that he was just out in the fucking blizzard with just a t-shirt on. And I just don't think that it's even virtually possible, even if someone did back up into you, let's just say at 25 miles an hour and hit you, that would cause all those injuries. It doesn't make sense. I think the worst it would do is throw you down. You probably hit your head, have a big bruise on your head. But if he was hit and his body was found in the grass, and that was, like Turtle Boy was just saying, cushioned by the grass and the snow, it doesn't make any sense. And there's a known dog in that house, a German Shepherd. Those to me look like dog scratches.
Taillight.
They're saying that he never even went inside the house. They're saying he never was inside the house, mind you. They're saying he never came in the house. This doesn't make any sense.
Would later find out that this was untrue. Call logs from the Dighton Police Department show that Trooper Proctor actually called for a tow truck at 3:02 p.m. before he had ever allegedly even seen the broken taillight and thus would have no reason to tow the car. We also have footage from Karen Reed's parents' house showing the car being towed at 4:12 p.m. ADA Adam Lally would later blame that on daylight savings, even though alarm.com automatically resets for daylight savings. This proves that Trooper Proctor was lying about what time he took the car, leaving him alone with the vehicle unaccounted for at least 1 hour and 18 minutes. Proctor interviewed her, and Karen denied bringing a drink into the Waterfall bar. She said that she dropped O'Keefe off at the party at 12:15, but since she didn't know anyone there very well, she was feeling sick, and she was a grown-ass woman in her 40s who doesn't go to after parties and play beer pong, so she elected not to stay. She lived with O'Keefe less than 3 miles away, so getting home wouldn't be a problem for him. Proctor claimed that Karen told him that she never saw O'Keefe go inside the house and had no idea how she had a broken taillight. Both of these statements made her look guilty. When she found O'Keefe,
yes. You can read about it here, John. I'll drop the link if you want to read a little bit more about it. I don't know, buddy. I'm going to probably disagree with you on this one. I mean, I know we can agree to disagree and stuff like that, but they look like dog scratches to me, bro. I'm probably going to disagree with you on this one.
His body later, his eyes were swollen.
Something's
and he
really
was
weird
still
about this
bleeding
case,
from the
man.
nose
Not
and
from
mouth.
a cop.
Karen attempted to call and text John O'Keefe multiple times after dropping him off.
If you're wearing a coat, okay, it's winter time. You're wearing a coat, you're not receiving those injuries on your arm like that. It's like virtually impossible. It's like when people ride motorcycles and they fall off their bike and they get road rash. Well, you know why people wear leather is because when you fall, if you skid across the pavement, it doesn't cause any road rash to your arms. It just looks like, I'm sorry, dude, it looks like dog scratches to me. And there's a dog in the house. I mean, there's a German Shepherd at that house.
He would never knock him home, knowing his niece and nephew
Good man.
needed him in the morning. Trooper Proctor asked her leading question designed to incriminate her about whether or not she had ever been in an argument with O'Keefe. And there isn't a couple on earth that hasn't been in a fight before. So Karen felt it was normal to tell Proctor that they had an argument over breakfast. This is why you should never talk to police without a lawyer if you're a suspect in a crime. They are not there to be your friend. They are there to get you to say something that will lead you to being charged criminally. A Canton firefighter who we later found out was good friends with
German
Caitlin
Shepherd.
Albert, the grown daughter
German
of
Shepherd.
Bryan Albert, who was inside 34 Fairview Road the night that John O'Keefe was killed, was one of the first responders to the scene. She told Trooper Proctor that Karen said to her friend, "I hit him," quote unquote, several times, further incriminating herself. Proctor's report also states that 2 red pieces of taillight were next to O'Keefe's body, which was the final piece of evidence needed to charge her with manslaughter. Except in the original report from the Canton Police Department, it never mentions anything about any taillight, and only 2 inches of snow had fallen at that time. As a matter of fact, the only thing that they found were droplets of blood, which they kept in red Solo cups, and some shattered cocktail glass, which apparently Karen Reed hit him with before backing into him with her car and killing him. Sure. But Trooper Proctor never once mentioned that he was a close personal friend with the McCabe and Albert families, which were prominent names in Canton. Here's a picture from Proctor's sister's Facebook page showing Trooper Proctor with Jennifer McCabe's children. ADA Adam Lally would later contend
the child that's depicted in that particular photograph is not one of the McCabe's children.
Oh, really?
McCabe's have 4 daughters. That's not one of them. It's a relative.
Indeed, he does have his arm around his niece. However, there are 2 girls in towels and bathing suits directly behind him who are, in fact, Jennifer McCabe's children. Here's another picture from Proctor's sister's Facebook page showing her at a family party with Chris Albert, the brother of Bryan Albert, directly behind her. Chris Albert was at the bar with O'Keefe the night he was killed, and he owns a local pizza shop in town called D&E Pizza. It's unknown if he was inside his brother's house that night because Trooper Proctor has deliberately prevented Google from sharing geofence data that could provide that information. Chris Albert lived at 7 Meadows Ave in Canton, 3 doors away from John O'Keefe, who lived at 1 Meadows Ave. Chris's son, Colin Albert, was an 18-year-old senior at Canton High School at the time of the incident and is confirmed to have been inside the house at 34 Fairview.
And this thing got a lot of legs. I'll tell you, this thing got a lot of legs, a lot of people.
Road that night. Colin was a star football player at Canton High School and a notorious hothead. There are multiple videos that we have posted of Colin in which he's threatening rivals in town and even ends it with bang, bang, which apparently is supposed to scare you into believing that this man will kill you. 2 days after John O'Keefe died, the Canton High School Twitter account announced that Colin would be playing football at Bridgewater State next year. Colin is an out-of-control meathead who frequently was confrontational towards his much older adult neighbor, John O'Keefe. He constantly trespassed on his property, threw beer cans on his lawn. He is the prototypical jock who thinks that Shakespeare was a huge loser and infamously poses for pictures sticking either his middle finger up or his fist in the air while pounding down Dylan Mulvaney lights. Colin has anger issues and gets off on knowing that he comes from a well-connected family in town. His uncle Brian, of course, is a Boston police sergeant. His uncle Kevin is a Canton police officer. His father, Chris, was recently elected to the Board of Selectmen. Here he is on the left, pictured with his father and his uncle, Brian, on the far right. The man in the middle is his other uncle, Tim Albert, the family moron who takes pride in being from a well-connected family, despite providing nothing of value to contribute to the family's brand name. Trooper Proctor's family knew Colin since he was a little boy.
Just going to recognize this super chat. Lanz's mom, 24, with a $50 super chat. I appreciate you so much. The problem I have with Turtle Boy is that he acts like a child and antagonizes people and seems to be click hungry. He has a lot of valid questions, but unprofessional. Be a voice of reason, please. Yeah, I mean, that's his shtick. you know, and that's how he gets attention onto himself. You know, I get that. That's kind of his shtick. There's a lot of shticks out there. You know, you look at the political realm, you can look at the way that, you know, Steven Crowder does things, Tim Cass does things. You know, you look at how the Young Turks do things. You know, and there's many other podcasts out there as too. I mean, you can look at even some of the true crime genre, you know, about how you know, how they have a shtick, how they throw conspiracy theories out there to get clicks and views. You know, my idea of doing this case is to treat it with respect, always treat everything with respect, and just show both sides of what's going on. And I let the audience decide on what way they lean, and then I can decide on which way I lean in this too. So I think it's still a super, super important case. And you know, I think it needs some light. But let me ask you all this, because I understand that we're dealing with some very sensitive subjects here. And I want to ask you all this. Let's just say we take the police element out of it. Let's take the police element out of it. Okay. And I'm gonna put a poll out there. So I just put a poll up. I had a poll up. Do you think Karen Read did this? 76% say no, 23% say yes. Let's do this. Take the, I really want you to vote honestly here. We're going to redo the poll. Let's take the police element out of it. Okay. Let's see. Now, vote honestly here. Let's take the police element out of it. How would you vote? Do you think that Karen Read did this? Because I think that's a big factor in this case too. And again, I told you, I back the blue here 100%. 100%. I've always backed the blue. I'm a First Amendment right person, Second Amendment right person. But if there is something funny going on and there is a cover up, then it needs to be talked about. And who knows? Maybe Karen Read did do this. But we're going to find out by what the evidence shows. And we're going to keep digging into this and see what we can come up with. So it's very fishy. I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence. And again, a lot of people may not agree with me here, but it's just very weird. I told you, this case should have a lot of eyes on it. It definitely should have a lot of eyes on it. And I think it's just as important as Idaho. And if there is shit like this going down, then it needs to be pushed forward. It needs to be pushed forward. Luna's mom, thank you so much for the $50. I really do appreciate that. And we'll keep playing on here. But I want to see what people think here, you know, honestly, up in the chat.
Here he is pictured with his Michael Proctor's sister once again. Here's another picture of Proctor's sister. She posted on Facebook from her 2012 wedding, showing Trooper Proctor on the far left and Colin on the right as a 7-year-old boy. They were both in the wedding party together.
Yeah,
Not once did it ever
sweet.
occur to Proctor to mention that he was a
Very
close friend to a
important case.
well-connected Canton family of cops and politicians and was investigating the death of a Boston police officer at one of their homes. He was in possession of all evidence to this crime and decided who would, and more importantly, who would not be investigated.
There is no conflict. Proctor is not conflicted in this case. I indicated that.
Colin Albert likes to get in fights and boast about it. A picture he posted on Visco shortly after the death of John O'Keefe shows his right knuckles covered in abrasions, indicating that he had punched someone or something recently. None of this has been made public, and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office hasn't sent a mountain of exculpatory evidence to Karen Read's defense attorneys until recently. This evidence.
The bottom line is this. In this whole thing is that John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, lost his life. He's dead. He's never coming back. And we need to find justice for him. So if Karen Read is responsible for doing this, she needs to go away and be responsible for it. But if there are other people involved, and she could be involved with other people. We don't know that. Or if she left and clearly has nothing to do with this, and it's people in that home that are responsible for this, then they need to be investigated. So there's 3 different elements to this. It could be Karen Read completely on her own. It could be Karen Read and people in that home that night, or it could just be people in that home. And that, I think the hardest thing here is now looking, what is the motive? What is the motive? And I want to recognize this. Mind Your Business just came out 5 memberships there. I appreciate that. She gifted out. We have some new members, so we want to play the new member tone. We'll get that Boston accent going tonight. Thank you so much. And I have a lot of members only content on my homepage. You can go over there and check out all my members only. I would appreciate it if you can go over there and check out that. That's for members only. And at the end of the night, when your gift memberships are up, you can always rejoin. And if you want to join right now to support the channel, I would appreciate it. You can do that by super chatting, or you can go down below, just click the join button, become a member. And my memberships are probably the lowest memberships out of any true crime channel. They're only $1.99. That'll be served every month, and it does help make all of these makes this channel possible. So I really would appreciate it. And if your gift membership is up and you want to rejoin, you can just rejoin at $1.99 to keep supporting LTL Podcast. All right, there's my shtick for tonight on support.
That they've withheld includes DNA evidence from John's body,
104
whether or not a dog had bitten him, for instance, as well as a 2-minute video clip from the Canton Library, which would have shown whether or not Karen Reed's taillight was broken after dropping John O'Keefe off at 34 Fairview Road, because if it wasn't broken, that means that she didn't hit him with her car. This evidence proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that she had nothing to do with John O'Keefe's death, but suggests that Colin Albert, Brian Albert's German Shepherd Chloe, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, and every other person in that house either witnessed or knew about the murder of John O'Keefe and conspired to frame Karen Reed after the fact. Unfortunately for them, Karen Reed is an extremely intelligent and well-resourced woman who can afford world-class representation. She initially had an attorney by the name.
This is a banging video. Very good, very good reporting.
David Yannetti, a well-respected Boston lawyer with more than 30 years of experience, who used to be a prosecutor. However, Yannetti can only do so much, and Karen Reed quickly realized after time that she was up against some powerful forces and she would need more representation, particularly when it came to cell phone expertise, which a lot of this case hinges on. So she did some searching and she found a guy by the name of Alan Jackson from Los Angeles, who had previously represented a man by the name of Kevin Spacey in Nantucket. Kevin Spacey was accused of sexually assaulting an 18-year-old bartender, but later we found out through the use of forensic technology that the quote-unquote victim and his mother had deleted a number of messages that showed that the boy was not actually a victim at all. Her attorneys filed a motion demanding a forensic audit of Jennifer McCabe and Brian Albert's cell phones and for all communications before and after O'Keefe's death. However, to this day, they have not gotten Albert's cell phone. Jennifer McCabe, on the other hand, voluntarily handed over her phone, thinking that if she deleted enough information, no one would find it.
Now, she deleted the search. She deleted the search. How long does a body die in the cold? At 2:27 a.m., she did that search via Google on her phone. She deleted the search. She deleted the search.
Indeed, that initial.
Just want to recognize the super chat. Luna's mom 24 said, you can do the same thing without calling names and acting a fool. Turtle Boy is good research facts, but his presentation hijinks make me question his legitimacy of what he says. You can make a difference. That's what we're trying to do here tonight on LTL Podcast. Absolutely. Again, we're just playing two sides of the story. We played the court TV investigation, and we're going to play Turtle Boy because he's done a lot of research into this case. So, thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate that. And we'll keep moving on here. We'll keep diving into this. Thank you. I'm going to back that up a little bit.
Presented a man by the name of Kevin Spacey in Nantucket. Kevin Spacey was accused of sexually assaulting an 18-year-old bartender But later we found out through the use of forensic technology that the quote unquote victim and his mother had deleted a number of incriminating messages that showed that the boy was not actually a victim at all. Her attorneys filed a motion demanding a forensic audit of Jennifer McCabe and Bryan Albert's cell phones and for all communications before and after O'Keefe's death. However, to this day, they have not gotten Albert's cell phone. Jennifer McCabe, on the other hand, voluntarily handed over her phone, thinking that if she deleted enough information, no one would find it. And indeed, that initially worked. State Police Detective Nicholas Guarino claimed to do a full extraction of her phone, and nothing really incriminating came back. But it didn't smell right to Alan Jackson. So they did another search of her phone, and they hired a man by the name of Richard Green, an expert in his field. And Richard Green did a much more thorough and expensive search into Jennifer McCabe's phone. What they discovered in April was shocking. They found that the Norfolk County...
Right there. How long to die in the cold? She Googled it. 2:27 a.m. Miss McCabe, the government's seminal witness, Googled HOS. How? That should be how. How long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, exactly 2 hours after O'Keefe was last seen walking towards Albert's residence by Miss Reed. That's pretty damning. Something's going on.
DA's office intentionally hid evidence showing that Jennifer McCabe had searched, quote, how long to die in cold, except she spelled it HOS, Hoss long to die in cold, at 2:27 a.m. on the night that John O'Keefe died. Well, how could she do that if she thought, why would she do that? More importantly, if she believed, as she told Trooper Proctor, that John O'Keefe had gone home and gone to bed, why would he possibly be dying in the cold? Unless, of course, the plan was to put his body in the cold so that he died from hypothermia.
How can you wear those buttons when you covered up his murder? Any comment on that? Why you Googled that at 2:27? Any comment, Mr. McCabe?
Bryan Albert was never questioned at his house, only at the McCabe's house, which was interesting because a dead body was found in his yard. Canton Deputy Police Chief Tom Keller happens to live across the street from Bryan Albert on Fairview Road. He has a Ring camera that would have picked up video of O'Keefe's body being hit that night.
That's the view it would have gotten.
That's the exact view.
Wow. However, he told police that
I'm going to go down to Fairview probably sometime this week and get some video in and around that area so you all can see it.
Conveniently, he did not capture anything of value on his Ring camera. It was never subpoenaed. Jennifer McCabe not only searched for how long to die in cold, she also deleted all communications on her phone between herself, Bryan Albert, and her sister, Nicole Albert. If Jennifer McCabe didn't think it was unusual for John O'Keefe to leave, then why did she stay up until 5 a.m., awaiting Karen Reed's phone call about John O'Keefe being missing? If Jennifer McCabe had nothing to hide, then why was she destroying critical evidence around the time that John O'Keefe's body was discovered? Why was Jennifer McCabe more committed to protecting Bryan Albert than her sister Nicole, who was married to Bryan? After O'Keefe got to Albert's home, he began texting McCabe to make sure she was there, since she was the only person he knew well, or at all. When he entered, he was surprised to see 18-year-old Colin Albert was there, who likely confronted him at some point and hit him, according to the theory proposed by Alan Jackson and David Yannetti in their court filings. Our sources believe that Bryan Albert joined in on the beating, alarming his loyal German Shepherd, which immediately began to tear into John O'Keefe's arm.
I mean, come on, dude.
Despite being their family dog, Bryan Albert court filings. Our sources believe that Bryan Albert joined in on the beating, alarming his loyal German Shepherd, which immediately began to tear.
If I don't understand, if you're out in the cold and you have a jacket on, how do those scratches get on you from a car backing up? It doesn't make any sense. And I've seen cops a million times, like on TV, when they send the dog on someone, that's the wounds that they look like. Those look like scratches to me. I don't know. And you can see bruising all on the ribs there. Maybe some bruising here. And one of the guys in the house is a trained MMA fighter. It's just really weird.
tear into John O'Keefe's arm. Despite being their family dog, Bryan Albert got rid of Chloe and never explained where the dog went. The defense team has since filed motions to try to get animal control records about the dog, which for some reason the ADA's office objected to. Unfortunately for him, the defense
And that's the thing I want to find out. Was O'Keefe wearing a jacket that night? Was O'Keefe found with a jacket on? Was O'Keefe found in the snow with a jacket on? Or was he found without a jacket? If he's with a jacket on, this just seems really weird.
On their motion, and the records were impounded. And as I speak right now, they are still trying to get those unimpounded. A motion has been filed on June 7th for that. Definitely in that house that night were Bryan Albert, Nicole Albert, Bryan Albert Jr., Colin Albert, Caitlin Albert, Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, friends of Albert Jr. named Julie Nagel, Emily Fabiano, and Sarah Levinson, and an ATF agent named Brian Higgins, who has an office inside the Canton Police Department. O'Keefe would make 12 at a minimum. We have one picture of Higgins with O'Keefe, who was with Bryan Albert earlier in the day in New York, and they had driven back after a police officer's funeral there, and they've been very chummy since then. This means that all of these people either witnessed the murder or somehow had no idea that a murder took place in a house they were in, and they've said nothing. Not one of them claims to have seen a 6'2", 217-pound body lying on the front lawn after leaving. One witness named Ryan Nagel went to the home to pick up his sister Julie, who ended up staying there. He was the only witness who had no familial ties to the Albert, and thus no reason to frame Karen Reed. He said that he witnessed Reed outside of the house. They arrived on Fairview Road at basically the same time, coming from different directions. He yielded to her. He allowed her to turn right onto the street. Now, keep in mind, it was snowing and visibility was difficult. So Karen Reed pulled up in front of the driveway, and she claims that John O'Keefe got out and ran into the house. She then pulled up a little further along the left-hand side of the property and said that she was beginning to text him because he was supposed to text her back to let her know everything's all set. You can go home now. Ryan Nagel has all but confirmed that this is exactly what happened because according to his own testimony, he said that he didn't see any damage to her vehicle, never heard any
screaming. I want to get the affidavit and read through that. I think that's important. That's something that we can do here.
Never witnessed her operating the vehicle erratically, and when he drove by her, most importantly, she was alone in the vehicle and her interior lights were on. Her hands were at 10 and 2, yet John O'Keefe's body was not on the ground, so where could he be if not inside the house? Additionally, O'Keefe's phone tracked him walking up and down the stairs, ascending and descending inside the Albert home from 12.
There you go. There's the cast information. Cast information doesn't lie. As the defense expert Richard Green sets forth, the attached affidavit, location data obtained by O'Keefe's phone established that his phone pinged in the neighborhood near the Albertson resident at 12:19 and 33 seconds a.m. and again at the location the Albertson's residence approximately 12:24:28 a.m. Immediately following his arrival at the Albert residence between 12:21:10 a.m. and 12:24:37 a.m., Apple Health recorded O'Keefe taking 80 steps, traveling approximately 87.74 meters, and climbing the equivalent of 3 floors with his location data pinging in close proximity of Albert's residence. The only reasonable interpretation of O'Keefe's Apple Health data is that he entered the Albertson's residence, which has 3 floors. Fairview Zillow listing between 12:31 a.m. and 12:32 a.m. Apple Health again recorded O'Keefe taking 36 steps with no elevation gain, traveling approximately 25 meters. The affidavit of Rick Green at O'Keefe did not walk the length of the O'Keefe did not walk the length of 3 swimming pools and climbed the
12:21 rather to 12:24. Obviously, it would not show this sort of up and down motion if he was inside Karen Reed's car or lying on the ground outside the home. And remember, the cell phone says he's in there between 12:21 and 12:24. Jennifer McCabe said he did not arrive there until 12:30. State police and the DA's office deliberately kept all of this information from the defense, including Jennifer McCabe's incriminating Google search. Jennifer McCabe's cell phone analysis shows that she left the Albert Albert house at 1:47 a.m. with Matthew McCabe, Julie Nagel, and Sarah Levinson. Alan Jackson asserted in his filings that she gave the other two a ride home because they lived near Meadows Ave and she wanted to drive by John O'Keefe's house to see if Karen Reed was up, to understand whether or not they had time to get rid of his body or whether or not she was up wondering where he was. So she dropped them both off at 2:27. Her Apple Watch recorded her going to her bedroom and Googling how long to die in cold, despite previously telling police that she assumed that John O'Keefe had gone home with Karen Reed. Why would she Google that if she thought he was home sleeping? A normal person after a night of drinking would be sleeping at 2:30 a.m. McCabe, instead of going to bed, elected to pace around her house nervously. That's what the Apple Health data shows, waiting for Karen Reed to contact her and ask where O'Keefe was. Somehow she anticipated this happening despite allegedly having no idea that John O'Keefe was missing. McCabe waited up for Reed because, number one, she needed to be with her when Reed discovered the body so that she could control the narrative with the police. And number two, she needed to put the idea in Reed's head that she might have accidentally hit and killed John O'Keefe while driving drunk and had no recollection of it. Reed truly believed that she might have done this and was distraught. His body was staged at the exact place where she was seen dropping him off before leaving. Although it is interesting that they claim that she did a 3-point turn, but only Michael Proctor claims that. He claims that Reed told him that she did a 3-point turn, except that makes no sense. That, of course, would be the only way that she could have backed into John O'Keefe, is if she did a 3-point turn. If she just kept going straight south on Fairview Road, then she couldn't have backed into him. Both Jennifer and Matt McCabe claim that that is the exact direction that she went in, was south, that there was no 3-point turn. Despite barely knowing Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe gleefully jumped in the car with her and Kerry Roberts. It is believed or asserted by the defense that this intentional delay guaranteed that O'Keefe would be dead by the time anyone found him. Remember, how long to die in cold, and that he would be unable to tell the real story about what happened. It is important to point out that when John O'Keefe was put outside to die, he was still alive. They did this so that the medical examiner could say that one of the causes of his death was hypothermia. Remember also that Jennifer McCabe initially told investigators that Karen Reed brought in a drink from another bar to the Waterfall bar, which only a drunken, low-class individual would do. But Karen Reed had a good job and made good money. Why would she do such a thing? Nevertheless,
I mean, is it possible? I mean, let's just throw the possibility out there. Is it possible that John O'Keefe went into that house that evening, a fight ensued, you have a lot of inebriated people at a party, a fight ensued, it got out of hand, and they covered this up? It's possible, right? And it's possible that Karen Reed hit him and dragged his body and he died. So there's a bunch of possibilities, or they're all in on it. So it's a possibility. It's just very weird. It's very, very weird. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for the next case to really get on, this is going to be it. And you're going to want to come here at LTL and check this case out. I'm going to try to communicate this week with Turtle Boy and try to get him on the podcast to give us some kind of boots on the ground reporting to see what he has to say about this. Obviously, he's been putting a lot of work into this. We'll see what happens.
Successfully planted the seed in Reed's brain that she may have accidentally killed O'Keefe. Jennifer McCabe also deleted phone calls to her sister Nicole Albert at 6:07 and 6:08. Those are now gone. They were 7 and 9 seconds long, and someone answered that phone. Now, ADA Lally has since claimed that that's evidence that the calls went to voicemail, except only unanswered calls go to voicemail, and that makes no sense. This proved that McCabe had made them aware that there was a dead body outside of their house.
So I have the affidavit. We'll do a read through. I'm going to do this whole case just like I did with Idaho. I'm going through this whole case. So there's going to be a lot of content about this, a lot of streaming about this case. I have the affidavit. We're going to go through it. And we're going to keep reporting on this. I promise you.
Not enough time.
Trial is scheduled for March of 2024. I'm actually going to probably go to the trial because it's right near my house. So if I can get in there on the trial and report on it, I'm definitely going to do that because it's literally in Norfolk County. From here, it's like 30 minutes from my house, probably less than that. So I definitely will be there. I'm definitely going to report on this in March.
Time for her to explain, oh my God, there's a dead body out here. I don't know what's going on. But
Yes, Andrew, we can meet up if you want to meet up.
7 to 9 seconds.
I'll meet up with you.
To say, Karen Reed is here. Don't come outside. This proved that McCabe made them aware that there was a dead body outside the house. Yet Bryan Albert,
I'm sure Turtle Boy will definitely be there too, so we can meet up with him.
Veteran Boston police officer and trained first responder, did not even come outside, despite the fact that there were a plethora of emergency vehicles, a lot of people making noises, blue and red lights flashing everywhere, and radios going off. And oh yeah, a screaming, hysterical woman on his front lawn named Karen Reed. A broken cocktail glass was found next to O'Keefe's body, which Canton police initially said was the murder weapon. O'Keefe's body was clearly visible as not much snow had accumulated. Yet McCabe and Roberts didn't see it. Only Karen Reed did. After notifying the Alberts about the dead cop on their property, Jennifer McCabe Googled, quote, how long does it take to digest food? 10 minutes after finding a body. The presence of food particles in a dead person's stomach helped pathologists determine time of death. At this point, Jen McCabe was panicking because she knew how suspicious the how long to die in cold Google search was at 2:27 a.m. She decided to search for that same thing again after discovering O'Keefe's body, hoping that it would make it look less suspicious.
Wild.
And as this might be something a person might Google after finding a body outside. In doing so, she hoped that it would make the first search disappear. Unfortunately, she spelled the words wrong the first time she searched it, not even close to the original Haas long to die in cold. The second time, she spelled it the exact same way. Haas long to die in cold. Not how. This was intentional. She later told law enforcement that it was Karen Reed who told her to Google that. Luckily for McCabe, Bryan Albert's brother is a Canton cop. His other brother is a selectman. His neighbor is the deputy chief, and the trooper in charge of the investigation was a close family friend who helped cover up the murder. It was going to be covered up regardless. When you thought that Jennifer McCabe couldn't get any lower, she also has been sharing fundraisers for John O'Keefe despite helping to cover up for his murder. Jennifer McCabe goes to every single court date. She comforts the family of John O'Keefe. She has John O'Keefe's badge number decaled on the back of her car. She has blue lights in front of her house and constantly wears thin blue line stuff everywhere. She is utterly shameless. Obviously, Jennifer McCabe did not kill John O'Keefe since she's not physically capable of that, but Bryan Albert, Colin Albert, and the dog were more than capable of that, and Colin Albert had the motive. McCabe was just the quarterback of the cover-up and seemed to want to protect Bryan Albert more than even his own wife did. Take from that what you will. Jennifer McCabe would never have been able to cover up this murder without the assistance of law enforcement, despite the fact that it was one of their own, who was killed. According to Reed's defense attorneys, the original Canton Police Department report had been altered. In the altered report, it never stated the CERT team found the taillight at 6 p.m. after Trooper Proctor had taken possession of Reed's vehicle. The altered report also had a different cell phone number that McCabe called after finding the body, indicating that police were taking steps to make sure that Bryan Albert was not in any way a suspect. New evidence has also shown that Albert rehomed the dog that attacked O'Keefe. He claims to know where that dog is, yet they won't tell the court where it is. In September of 2022, Reed's lawyers publicly accused the Albert family in open court of being implicated in John O'Keefe's murder, and they ordered them, through the judge, not to delete anything from their phones. 2 weeks later, Tim Albert, the Fredo of the family, posted a meme on Facebook stating, quote, "You don't fuck with my family," and that he won't hesitate to make you miserable if you do. Just a couple days after these filings were made in court, Tim Albert decided that it would be a good time in October to fill in his pool. Nothing shady about that. Tim is the loser of the family who seeks approval by virtue signaling about how loyal he is so that he can enjoy the fruits of the success while contributing nothing himself. This post was clearly a direct attempt to intimidate Karen Reed, her attorneys, and reporters like me who expose people like him for being dirtbags. After being accused in September by Reed's attorneys, Bryan Albert immediately decided that it would be a good time to sell his childhood home, which had been in the family for almost 50 years. It sold rather quickly for $50,000 less than they were asking for it, and as a result was never searched by police, despite the fact that a Boston cop was probably murdered inside of it and was found dead on that property. The person most responsible for the cover-up is certainly Trooper Proctor, who failed to speak to key witnesses, protected his close friends, and never applied for geofence data that would show showed the identities of every person in that house that night. We later found out that he lied about what time that he arrived at Karen Reed's parents' house in order to have the car by himself for 1 hour and 18 minutes. We also found out that in his reports, he intentionally misspelled the names of at least 4 witnesses, including Sarah Levinson, Caitlin Albert, a woman by the name of Emily Fabiano, and Catherine Duty, whose father, Charles Duty, happens to be the town moderator and was the chief of the Canton Police Department at the time that John O'Keefe died.
This is the wildest fucking story I've ever heard, man. There's so many fingers and legs and it's wild.
However, Brian Albert didn't mention until April of 2022 in front of a grand jury that his dog was aggressive and not great with strangers. Despite being at an after party, everyone at 34 Fairview Road fled the home within an hour after O'Keefe had arrived. Cool party. Remember, they allegedly had no idea he was dead, so why would they all leave the scene of the crime? They're there to party. Canton police used red Solo cups to store blood evidence at the scene of the crime, but did not discover any pieces of a broken taillight in there for a search. Remember, only 2 inches of snow had fallen by 6 a.m. when the Canton Police Department arrived. 2 hours later, the state police took over the investigation, and 12 hours later is when over a foot of snow had fallen, and boom, Trooper Proctor magically found not only pieces of taillight fragment everywhere, but John's other missing shoe, which was not there at the time of the first search by the Canton Police Department. So then how did Karen Reed break her taillight? Well, Ring surveillance video from Reed's home shows her backing into O'Keefe's car and slightly hitting it on the way to search for him. On the way out, you can see that the taillight is slightly cracked, although certainly not shattered. It is believed that during that hour and 18 minutes, Trooper Proctor had the car unaccounted for. He may have smashed it up a little bit more. So how did they find all these pieces of taillight if the Canton police did not find any? Well, that would be Trooper Proctor, who, as I stated, was able to have the car unaccounted for 1 hour and 18 minutes. Luckily, they found it the second time. They just decided to search the scene of the crime on a hunch. And even more remarkably, Canton Police Chief Ken Berkowitz also decided to go to the scene of the crime on a hunch on February 4th and noticed more pieces of the taillight from his moving vehicle. Berkowitz had been called by ATF agent Brian Higgins, who was in the house when O'Keefe was murdered immediately after the killing. Brian Higgins turned out to be a good friend of Ken Berkowitz and helped organize his retirement party several months later, which Brian Albert also attended along with District Attorney Michael Morrissey. Trooper Proctor also went out of his way to make sure that Google didn't send him all the geofence data that the defense had requested. Karen Reed appears to be a completely innocent woman.
Tried to save his life. I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Wrongly charged by corrupt cops who would see her rot in prison in order to cover up a murder of a fellow police officer. If she didn't have the resources, then none of this would have come out. Trooper Proctor and the district attorney's office went out of their way to make sure that evidence that they knew would exonerate her would never be given to the defense team. As a result of O'Keefe's niece and nephew, whom she loved as her own, now believe that she killed their adopted father. Trooper Proctor, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, Jennifer McCabe, and Brian Higgins all deserve to spend time in jail, and 2 of them at least should be charged with murder. The Canton police chief and deputy chief should both be fired, but as I said, Ken Berkowitz decided it would be a good time to resign after this. We hope that Karen Reed sues all of these people after she's exonerated and that the bad guys go to jail. Every single person in that house should be charged with obstruction of justice as they witnessed a crime and never reported it. They all lied. There is no possible way that they could not have seen a body on the way out. There's no possible way. So either the body was not there, in which case Karen Reed did not strike him, or they are all lying to the police. You pick which one they're doing.
Oh shit. Did I just click off that? I just clicked off it. All right, let me go back, get that last minute of the video. So again, I want to make it very clear, even Turtle Boy himself backs the blue. He's not a cop hater. He's not a basher. I don't bash cops. I support the blue. It just seems as very, very weird. This is beyond strange. All right, let's play this. Let's see what he was saying there. Oh.
All lying to the police. You pick which one they're doing. Haven't even begun to see the really crazy shit.
All right. Turtle Boy was just out there yesterday at 34 Fairview. Here's a a good look of the property. Again, he reported that it has now been sold, ironically, just after the murder, which is really weird. And it was in the family for about 50 years. So let's play what he was doing out there the other night, some measurements, and talking about where Karen Reed's SUV was supposedly dropped off O'Keefe. And then we're gonna wrap this one up for tonight. We'll keep getting into this case.
See this guy's over here, like this. So there's, see up there, that's 62 feet. So
I'm gonna take a ride out to Fairview probably sometime this week on one of the nicer days and get some video in and around the area.
this is where John O'Keefe was found, right here. His body was found. And they said that Karen Reed came from 62 feet back at 24 miles an hour in reverse and banged him somehow, ended up on here. So this is 62 feet. We're going to mark it off right here. All right. Boom. All right. And that's where 62 feet is. See my car up there?
That's a long way.
Yeah, chalk markers on the ground. That's 62 feet.
Right by your back tire.
Right. So we're going to see, I mean, you have to be careful here. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can go 24 miles an hour in reverse by the time I reach that point right there. And that's crazy. 24 miles an hour?
And you're going to have to keep going to slow down.
Oh, she ran him over too. And then Jen McCabe looked out the window because I guess they were all just sitting in one of those windows. And Jen McCabe looks out the window. And by the way, you see that gate back there?
Yeah,
That's where they brought the body out from. So the Ford Edge is parked right here. Okay. Right where I'm standing right here. Look at that freaking cover. You park a car right here. No one's seeing it.
Right.
They're not going to see it over there. Right. They're not seeing it. That's going to block it. It's got the tree, the bushes over there. You pull his body, boom. It's the shortest possible way. They brought it right from the backyard. That's what they did. So we're going to see. I mean, how absurd is this? So why the hell would she be all the way over there? That's directly in front of 32 Fairview. Why would they do that? That makes no sense whatsoever. You explain that one to me. 32. So she's just sitting? Like they want us to believe that she's just sitting over there? Doing what? And then so John got out of the car right here. He's like, okay, I'm just going to stand right here and let you run me over, you crazy woman. So it's snow and the tires, it's going to make a lot of noise, the tires, right? In the snow. It's obviously not snowing right now, so we can't perfectly. And then she's going to hit him. Well, he's what? Holding his cocktail glass right here. Why isn't he going in the house?
Hang on a second, John. Let me just get through this video.
And how does he end up over there?
Well, he ended up like right here. Okay, so we put it like, I'm trying to do it right where she would.
In the distance way over
Yeah,
here.
because 12 feet, that's like 12 feet, right? So he ends up right.
12.
Yeah.
The basketball hoop bust too. Like right here.
Right. So I don't know, man. 12. So maybe it wasn't 12 feet. Maybe they're just saying 12 feet. I don't know. I don't even know if you can get 12 feet from there. But how the hell did his body get to right there? I mean, you explain that to me. So we're going to see, can she even get so this dude just stood here and is like, yeah, come hit me. Come hit me. By the way, look how far away the car is. You see somebody coming at you in reverse like that. That's plenty of time to get away, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just jump out of the way. You're standing, unless he's standing in the middle of the road. Is that what they're saying? In that case, how did he go to over here? Right? So if you're standing right here and the car comes at you, oh, nice, taking a dump on Keller. Nice. Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up.
Great.
Don't pick it up. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to do a test out right now.
All right, DJ, give it to me.
Hey, buddy, was that like an RX 300? Is that what that was that she was driving?
Yeah, maybe.
So an RX 300 weighs about, I don't know, 4,200 pounds, I think. I looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a vehicle moving 25 miles an hour, hitting a 220-pound man, 6'2". Listen, I know people don't want to believe it. They want to look at this, as it's kind of fishy, but I'm a THI. I'm a traffic homicide investigator. A 4,000-pound vehicle moving at 5 miles an hour would slam your internal organs against your rib cage or your spine and other things. So when they break him open when the ME breaks him open, They're going to be able to tell. Somebody said, oh, well, yeah, he could have been hit with a baseball bat. No way. It's like being dropped from a 3-story building. All of your organs will slam at the same time into your rib cage and your other bones in your body, and you'll know whether he was hit by a car. So all this will be put to bed as soon as the ME gets on the stand. I can tell you that right now. Now, whether those are dog bites or not, I don't know.
Sure.
But
Let me ask you.
if he was hit by a car, I promise you that we'll know.
So just seeing that video, they said that she was 62 feet out. Okay.
Right.
And where he was standing was supposedly where he was hit, and then his body flew 12 feet.
Absolutely
if you were standing,
possible.
right, it's possible. Let's just say this though. Let's look at the logic of it. If that car was backing up, dude, 62 feet away, you wouldn't see that and have enough time to get out of the way. And the thing that I find very strange too, all the deleted Google searches. Now, let me just ask you before you answer, okay? And I just want your honest opinion on this, because I think, and I don't know if some of the emotion of this is getting in the way, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you think that if we took the police element out of this, would your mind be a little bit different?
I don't know. I'm still, I still don't know a whole lot about that. Like I said, I just came into this and I spoke with you a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to opine on it because there's just so much that I don't know. But what I do know as a THI is, I mean, I've worked many cases, bro, where people have been hit by cars moving 5 miles an hour and, were killed. I don't know whether he was actually, do you know, was he run over too? Or do we know anything about that? I don't know whether.
That's the thing. We're going to get into the PCA. I haven't read through the entire thing. Again, I'm just coming into this case as well. I read maybe a day and a half on it because everybody kept saying, you got to do it. You got to do it. And then I looked and I was like, holy shit, this is very close to my house. I've been meaning to do it for about 2 months. But I wanted to let the Idaho stuff kind of die down a little bit. And I said, well, we're going to get some eyes on this. And again, I'm still just initially getting into this case. It just seems
also that area though, that also where they were pointing, was that like a tree lined, like a little island right there?
Quite possible. I'm going to get down there this week and get some video of the area so everybody can see.
Because those scratches on his arms and stuff, if he was hit hard enough to be thrown up into the trees, those could be from branches. They could be from, the impact of that area. But I can tell you, man, I know 25 miles an hour doesn't seem like very fast. Just walk out into your neighborhood, everybody, and your speed limit's between 25 and 30. And people will be doing that. And imagine stepping out in front of that car at that kind of a speed. It would throw you 30 plus feet.
All right, fair enough. Let's just do this.
And 15 to 20 feet up in the air too.
Fair enough.
I've recovered bodies up in trees, man, that were hit by cars.
Let's play this. Here you go. 25 mile an hour crash versus a 12 mile an hour crash. Fair enough. We'll play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the top car is a 25 mile an hour crash. The bottom car is a 12.
Yeah.
I'll back it up here. Hang on. We'll start it over. So that's, what damage will do. Look at the 12 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Now it's hitting
what we try to
fixed
do
object.
here. Yeah. That's what we try to do here.
Hitting a fixed object. And you're talking about another vehicle. You're not talking about a human body that's going to fold up like a pretzel. And
but I'm just showing what an impact can do. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Of course. Fair enough. We'll play all sides here. It's what we try to do, and look at everything. But that's, if you're rear-ending someone at 25 miles an hour, that's what that kind of damage would do. So fair enough.
And every bumper on every vehicle has a mile per hour rating.
Right.
So, I don't know what that Mercedes is, whether it's a 3
mile
an hour.
I literally just pulled up the first video that I could find.
Right. But you can see the difference between 12 mile an hour and 20 something miles an hour.
Sure.
It's huge.
That's what I was basically trying to do and say. But
we've all been in situations where alcohol was involved. I don't know whether they were in a dispute and she was pissed and she threw it in reverse and was speeding at him.
Sure.
You know, we don't know whether he was facing her or he was hit from behind, because if he was hit from behind, she might have just been trying to accelerate to get back up to him to argue more and hit him and his head. And, you know, you wouldn't have much damage on the vehicle. His head could slap on the pillar, the rear pillar of the vehicle, and not even dent it and cause that laceration. And it would surely explain a lot, you know, where they found the body. I mean, you're talking about a 4,000-pound vehicle hitting a 225-pound man. I know people, it's kind of like one person couldn't commit, you know, 4 homicides with a K-bar knife. People don't want to believe that, but people don't want to believe that a car moving at just 25 mile an hour. But you got to really put things and go outside and look at a car in your neighborhood moving 25 mile an hour and think about stepping in front of that car.
We'll get into it, though. I think this is a case that we really can dive into. You and I might not agree on a lot of things. I'm kind of leaning one way right now, but again, the investigation may change my mind, of course, you know, and that's what I
think that the medical examiner is going to clear it all up.
Yeah. So
and those to me, those lacerations on the arm, look, I've personally been bit by a German Shepherd, bro, and I got 4 holes in my right buttocks to prove it. And if that was a shepherd grabbing his arm and shaking it, those wouldn't be scratches. They would be absolute punctures and torn flesh. I mean, it would be, I mean, you could pull up a German Shepherd bite on an arm, you know, a canine police incident where a canine bit a perpetrator in the arm, and you'll see what it actually did to him. Those aren't dog bites.
Could be dog scratches, though.
Could be a, you know, could be a dog trying to run up to him and wake him up with his paws, but
could be.
I think his arms broke.
But why would you? I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. If you're wearing a jacket and it's cold that night, it's January, there's a blizzard. Okay. I don't think this guy is out there walking around in a blizzard or getting out of a car going to a house with no jacket on. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what would make sense?
If you have a jacket on, and let's say that he was hit, that would probably, you wouldn't have injuries like that on your arm. It doesn't make any sense.
Would it make sense if they got in a fight and he jumped out of the car and said "F you" and they were arguing and he didn't take his jacket with him? He was walking down the street or whatever, and she got pissed and threw it in reverse and didn't mean to hit him, but did.
They have an eyewitness showing that she didn't do that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know everything about this case, man. So it's hard for me to opine. I'm just
very, very interesting, and I definitely want to dive more into this. You know, it
sounds like a real interesting case. I mean, there's definitely there's some weird stuff going on. I can tell you this much based on just what you've shown here tonight. It'd be hard to convince a jury of 12 that she did do it. You know, and
really
I mean, it'd be very easy to convince one person that she didn't. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough case for the prosecutor. And was she charged with DUI manslaughter or just manslaughter?
Yeah, it was I think it's DUI manslaughter. No, her charges got upgraded to murder. To murder now. It's not manslaughter anymore. It's murder. So this is wild. This case is wild, man.
Yeah, if they upgraded it to murder, then there's stuff that we don't know about.
Saying he was wearing a hoodie and a baseball cap. Well, I have the PCA. I'm going to read through that probably tomorrow night because I'm going to do this. I'm going to be on this case for a while now because it's close to my house. I can get out there. I can get to some of the hearings, and I think it's just important. This is something that needs some light on it, and we'll find out. We'll figure it out. You know,
I mean, you could. What would be cool too is there's video out there of people being struck by vehicles.
Yep.
I mean, you can show, you know, what happens to a body. It would blow your mind, man.
Oh yeah.
And it was the rear of the SUV too, which is, you know, it's not going to sustain a bunch of damage like the front end would.
Right.
But I
We'll
can
get
see
into it.
everybody's concern here. I mean, it does seem definitely crazy, but you know, I posted earlier too that a res gestae statement. So what was did she make a comment to an EMS employee that
Supposedly she made a comment about I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Now that could be she's meaning that she hit him. There's video of her hitting his car when she was leaving her house that evening to get back to him. When she shows up on scene, there's 3 people, her and 2 other women that were at that house at about what they say 4 o'clock in the morning, and she's the only one that's doing CPR to save his life. No one else is. I mean, it's crazy, man. There's just so much in this, and it's definitely something I want to get into.
Well, like I said, his once they do the Y incision and they crack him open, all of his organs, if he was hit by that SUV, would have slammed.
Yeah,
just like your brain slams into the back of the opposite area that you're hit.
Right.
Those organs will sustain contusions and bruising, and they'll know if he was hit by a car. I can promise you that.
We'll keep reporting. We'll figure it out.
How did we determine the speed? Was that from the THI investigation?
I believe it's in the PCA. It's in the
okay. So
PCA.
they did a THI investigation. They determined based on the fact where his body was found and the point of impact, they can calculate an estimated speed. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's likely that it did happen that way. But again, I mean, I see where everybody's concern is. And you got to think about this too, because cops are involved, it's an automatic cover up. You know how that works, man.
Sure.
So, I mean,
but that's why I was saying, if you take the cop element out of it, would everybody feel the same way? I have to pose that question. It's a fair question to ask everybody.
I'll be honest. I don't think they would.
You think that they would lean in the direction of Karen Reed being guilty? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do, because I think there's so much disdain for law enforcement that everyone thinks that law enforcement's going to cover up the incident. And, you know, I'm not saying that didn't happen or there's a propensity that could happen.
I'm not saying that either.
Because it certainly could.
Right.
Is it likely?
I mean, is it possible that he walked in that? Is it possible he walked in that house? Everybody's drunk. A fight ensues. He ends up getting beat to death, and they're like, "Fuck." That's possible, right? It's a possibility, and it's the possibility that he was outside that house. She backed up and fucking killed him and left.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of possibilities, but how many witnesses are we talking about here? So how many people will we have to corroborate this story?
Sure.
How many people would risk their freedom to lie?
Right.
Those are things you got to think about as well. And that's, you know, any prudent person needs to come up with a decision based on the facts. And you have a jury pool that's going to have to, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, convict her, you know, and, you know, based on what we're seeing, unless that ME report is going to be pivotal. Because there's no denying that if the organs are damaged the way that I suspect that they would be damaged, then she hit him. And there's not a whole lot that they're going to be able to defend. Because an ME sees this stuff all the time. I mean, there's just no way that would happen with a baseball bat or being kicked or in martial arts, because all of your organs will stop and slam up against, you know, the opposite direction of, you know how that works. I mean, just hold a bottle, halfway full bottle of soda in your hand and turn it sideways and jerk it from side to side.
Right.
That's what your organs would do.
Right. And
you're talking about a 4,000+ pound vehicle. I think his arm's broken too.
Could be. Well,
if you look at his bicep, where his tricep comes around from his deltoid, you see that on the last picture on the bottom right. You see that big bulge. It looks like his arms broke right there.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of shows on this, you know, and just getting it out there for everybody to look into. I think this is the it case right now. I'm just surprised that there are not people doing more on this. And, you know, for me, being a local boy here in Massachusetts, it's an important case. You know, and the bottom line is this, that a Boston police officer lost his life. And that's a terrible, tragic thing. and we need to
Very
find
true.
out and find justice for John O'Keefe in this case. That's the most important thing. So I'll keep diving into this. I think I've got everybody's kind of eyes and ears on it. We may not all agree. I'm still kind of 50-50 down the middle. And, again, we'll keep looking into it. I want to make sure that I put this statement out there. I back the blue 1000%. This is not like a cop thing. It's not,
Right.
To disparage anybody. I'm not going to make any statements that were kind of said, on Turtle Boys, saying that they did it. We don't know that. And I would never convict anybody before, going into court and getting the due process. None of these people have been arrested. So, we can't make those assumptions, but we can look at it and say things may be weird, or maybe things start to iron out as we look deeper into this. So we'll give the opportunity on both sides. And,
people have to be real too. I mean, no one wants to think that this beautiful young lady would, do something like that. But, everyone's been involved in something negative involving alcohol, and people do things when they're inebriated that they normally wouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And those spontaneous statements of I hit him. I mean, that's pretty telling right there. Or did I hit him? Sure. No one wants to, like I said, no one wants to see this lady go to prison. I get it. But I think when it comes down to it, once this evidence is presented, she'll probably plea out to manslaughter. That's probably what's going to happen.
Could be. We'll see what happens. Could be. I don't know. But I want to keep looking into this because it's got my attention. It's definitely got
it's a good case. Damn sure needs to be covered.
Listen, absolutely. If you want the elements of a crime drama, you're gonna get it all in this case. And that's why I tell everybody, come to LTL, watch these shows. I think that you're gonna be really interested in this case. I'm gonna try to approach it from an unbiased point. And show both sides, and that's what we do here. So I'm going to end the show. We're at about 2.5 hours. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight on LTL. Detective John jumping on really quick. Give me his.
Sorry, man. I was playing pickleball. I just got back. So.
And we'll continue. We will continue to report on Karen Reed. Again, I'm going to get out there this week once the weather clears up here in Massachusetts. I'll get down to Fairview, get some video for you all, and kind of do a little JLR reporting on the scene. Hopefully I don't get kicked out. I won't go on anybody's property, but we'll go down there and get some video for you all, for you guys and ladies, to give you kind of a first person view of the area. So
is that
John,
a gated community?
No, you can go right down. There's a public street.
Well, remember, you got an easement. They can't tell you to get off the easement. It's usually 25 foot off the center of the roadway. So you can walk around all you want. If they say, get out of my yard, tell them that, this is the easement. See where that fire hydrant was?
Yeah.
You probably got another 10 feet on the other side of that.
Yeah. So we'll get down there. We'll get some video of it and show everybody what it looks like down there. Any parting words, John?
No, I think this is this is the type of stuff that should be covered. Right. Because there's questions, and there's legitimate questions. Mm-hmm. I mean, but you posed a very, very, sensible question. If law enforcement wasn't involved, would we be having this discussion? And I think not. Mm-hmm. Because everyone wants to assume that.
I think everybody majorly in the chat tonight backs the blue in here, though. We all do.
Yeah.
I back.
No. I get it, but I'm just saying there are going to be those. I don't know.
There'll be people that comment. Believe.
Yeah, there's this turtle guy. I don't know his background. I don't know anything about him.
He backs the blue, believe it or not. He's a right wing guy. He's a Trump supporter. He's a right wing guy. First Amendment, Second Amendment. I've never seen him come this hard against the police ever in any of his reporting. He's usually out there backing all of them. And I don't think I don't know. That's why I want to get him on the show and ask him and say, where's the angle that you're coming from? Is this just a general looking at these individuals and keeping the police element out of it? Or is the police element affecting you in some way? So I'd really be curious to ask him.
real quick, excuse my
Yeah.
ignorance, because again, I don't know much about. So she was dropping him off at that house for a
Yes.
party, or
Yes, it was
and
an
then
after
she was
party.
leaving.
Yes.
Okay, so
And they say that he
is-
never went in the house, but his location data on his iPhone watch, on his iPhone, shows that he walked 82 feet, went up three flights, which would be the 3 flights in the house. So his data shows that he was in the house. You know, his data shows he was in the house.
Were they arguing? Is there any?
No, they have never had any evidence of ever fighting in public or an argument or anything. So I'm telling you, John, this is a wild case. You know, and that's why I want to get deeper into it and really understand what happened. You know, I want to read the PCA.
So the theory is that the theory is that someone beat him to death, and then
the theory is they beat the shit out of him in the house. They walked out of the house, dropped his body, walked out that gate, dropped his body in the yard, and then knowing that she was there, blame it on her. Someone in the house a woman in the house at 2:27 a.m. Googled how long for someone to die in the cold. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
That's highly sus. I mean, for sure. But also, why would, if there was no incident, no argument, nothing domestic going on here, then why would anybody even think to do that? It just kind of, I don't know. That's the monkey wrench for me.
As I'm saying, I want to look more into this. I think there's a lot more we can deeper and get into this and look at it. I'm not going to make any assumptions off one episode. Believe me.
Is there an ME report? Is there an ME report?
No, I have to look again. I got a day and a half of investigating this, and this is what I've come up with so far.
That's the first thing I would look for, Brian.
Sure.
That ME report.
I'll get on it.
That's going to be the tell-all, but it may be under seal.
Sure. I'm going to try to pull the case files up. I do have the PCA. We'll read through that, and I'm going to keep doing this case. I think it's important. I think it needs to get out there. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, somebody said, like Mary Stitt said, that the affidavit says while driving Mr. O'Keefe's house, the defendant stated to Miss McCabe, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man. I mean, you're gonna know if you hit somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and the first thing that somebody that's
maybe
never
Mary
been in
in
trouble.
the chat. Mary's my good sleuther. Maybe she can find the medical examiner report for me and send that to me. She's always usually good with getting some documents to me. So I'll put that challenge out to Mary if she's still in here, or any of my mods if they're still in here. They can find the medical examiner's report. But I literally have to get off air. I got to work tomorrow, so I'm gonna end the
Hey, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the outro here. I'll see you guys back tomorrow. We got a lot more reporting on this Karen Reed case. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Dude, I almost got 800, by the way. Close.